What up, everybody? How you doing? Welcome back to Jedi Grand Velle Productions. I am that black sexual chocolate guy, Jedi Grand Velle, and welcome back to my segment of my podcast, which I call Takasasu Corner, where we discuss anything and everything that's dealing with Takasasu or kaiju related items or events. And here we're going to be discussing favorite, or at least the ones that we feel that we're going to be talking about, our favorite Godzilla scores, whether it be from the Showa, the Heisei, Millennium, or even with the Monsterverse. So, but to get this started, let me introduce my cavalcade of very interesting guests here. You've probably seen this gentleman on my show before, Mr. Mark Jacob, let's say Jacob, Mark Justice.
That's right.
Yes, he's
Mark
yes,
Justice.
sorry, Mark Justice.
I'll
See,
go by
I'm,
Jacobs too. That's fine. That's just as fine as well.
I'm starting out the gate really raw here. Sorry about that.
It's all good, man.
Yes, but you can find him on heavy metal horror.
That's
He's
right.
usually, and he has other podcasts, a radio show, and everything, and does amazing stuff. He's great. Yes, he's a master of that stuff. And down below me is a good friend of mine, very well known on the scene, Mr. Kevin Lambert of Entertainment Headquarters. He is a brilliant gentleman when it comes to that stuff. With his materials. And down below Mark is Mr. Anthony Jordan of Movies and Gaming. He's very good, and he's in the horror and metal too. So hey, he's
not metal.
Oh hell. Oh, okay. You know what I'm saying? Correct me, because I might be saying the wrong things there. So, but thank you, gentlemen, for joining me on this. This was, and I should make this clear because this was something that another mine, Nick Adam. I don't know if you know who that is, Mark, but he's on the YouTube channel Monster Report, and he was actually the one who came up with this idea with me to join, but somewhere down the line we couldn't make our times meet, blah blah blah. And he said, and I tried to get him on here, but he said he's got other things he's got to take care of. Life happens and intervenes. Sure. Whatever it does. So he said, hey, go ahead and do your thing. Do that. I mean, don't let me stop you from doing it. So to give credit what credit is due, this was his idea, but I'm just following through because I really want to talk about this particular subject. And with this subject, we're just pretty much going to spin doctor what we, as I say, feel in terms of what is your favorite of the Godzilla scores or the music that's done in these movies, and how and why they stand out and why they're on the list that you have, that you provided. Because trust me when I say 30 some odd films or something like that, it's kind of hard, because even D'Anthony said it's like, I couldn't really narrow it down, but this is why we're doing 10 of them, because I feel like this is what you call the minute of what we're going to be discussing. So with that being said, let's kind of get the ball rolling, and we'll just start with you, Mark. And I know you don't have really category as far as number, but starting with 10 or whatever, which I'll put like this: which one is the lowest to the highest? We'll put it like
okay,
that.
We'll go lowest to highest.
Yes.
Okay. Well, that's I think I've got a couple also rans too.
Okay.
Let's go. Oh boy, that's a tough one. That's a tough one.
That's what I'm saying. It's not easy.
Lowest to highest. I'm gonna go with Godzilla, Mothra, King Ghidorah. Not that it's the lowest. I just love this. The soundtrack.
Mothra versus
GMK, yeah, from 2001.
Okay,
because it's got a lot of classic themes with kind of modern sensibilities. There's some techno to it, which kind of shows a departure, because this story doesn't take place in the regular canon. We have these regular monsters that we know, but we're given different origin stories. Now Godzilla is not just a product of the atomic bomb, but he's the living embodiment of all the souls who died in the Pacific Theater of Conflict in World War II. So we have a very different origin, a different look in Godzilla. The monsters are recognizable, but also very different. And so the the main theme is main title kind of shows that off. Plus, revived legend I think is atmospheric and mysterious. The god of destruction appears is very powerful. You know,
Mhm.
all the way through the unleashed spirits of the war dead, Godzilla's rage. These are all tracks within that soundtrack that I think are highlights to to show that look, we have these themes that are really kind of borrowed a lot of these from Ifukube, but we're going to kind of tweak them a little bit. And
Okay.
so, yeah, that's what I like about
Okay, cool. Well, going from that to the next, Kevin, what's your number 10 and tell us why it's you
So,
well,
as for me, when it comes to Godzilla, I like the more serious toned of the Godzilla movies. Obviously, I still love the wackiness of like some of the elements of the Showa era,
mhm.
and obviously even the Heisei era. But at number 10, I've picked the score and the soundtrack for Ghidorah, the Three-Headed Dragon by
Ah,
Akira
nice.
Ifube, and that is because I remember as a kid, obviously, I had seen the solo Mothra film, I had seen the solo Godzilla movie, and
Mhm.
what really fully basically got me hooked on Godzilla is the fact that he was now doing like the beginning of the Versus movies.
Mhm.
So you had like Godzilla versus Mothra, Godzilla versus King Kong, and then of course you had Ghidorah, the three-headed dragon, which was the first time Godzilla himself teamed up with Mothra and Rodan, three kaiju monsters versus a much bigger threat. And for me, the music in that movie just really just captivated the mood and everything about that particular film, and that's why it's one of my favorites at number 10.
Nice. All right
it.
then.
Toho was borrowing from Universal, if I could chime in, because
Yeah.
their big three, Frankenstein, the Wolfman, and Dracula, they loved that formula. In House of Frankenstein, House of Dracula, when you see those movies, and so they wanted
Yeah.
to do something similar, and
Mhm.
that's what we have in Ghidorah, which is great.
Okay. Cool. All right. Well, Anthony, what's your number 10? At least the lowest of and moving up.
Yeah, this is actually pretty much in order. So at number 10, I'm going to have to go with GMK. It
Okay.
was
Okay.
a very nice blend of the classic themes with then modern sensibilities. And I especially love that main theme for the movie. It really just stands out, as well as with the other themes mentioned. It's just a very unique soundtrack in the franchise, and it stands out for all those reasons.
Okay. Well, me particularly for my number 10, and as I say, I mean those are some good ones. I mean, especially with GMK, I mean that might have been on my list, but that's I guess like I say, it's as Kevin was saying, the tone and how you feel about how it structures the film that you're watching, which makes sense. For me, it is um Godzilla versus Biollante, believe it or not. That's my
Mhm.
number 10. And it's made by this particular composer. I'm not going to try to butcher his name because if I try to butcher his name, I'm going to get crucified for it. I'm thinking, don't I have him here? That's where the that area is. Okay, I was about to say, don't I have him? Yes, this composer here, his name I can easily say I'll butcher up in a heartbeat, but he was a composer for um, Biollante score, and it's interesting because that score, it seems not flamboyant, but it seems like it's fitting or it's taken from past decades of what the music back then were, but it's totally 80s and it seems very adventurous, very and it doesn't have much of the Godzilla themes in there either, it's a standalone kind of thing, which I kind of like. Not to say that, it doesn't hurt to have the original Ikefube's score in there that's just take it tell know that it's Godzilla, but sometimes you want to try to do something fresh and new, and that's what I feel that one is particularly why I have it at number 10 because I feel it's just it's one of those haunting scores that I don't think too many people really think about. They might look at the movie, but it's like, is the score helping? But for me, it actually does takes me away into what I'm looking at. Hey, what's up there, Lethal One?
Lethal One.
Okay, yes, good
Yo,
scores are hard to find nowadays, you know, and yes, but no, that's exactly what it is, you know. Let me get back on here. Yeah, but that's my number 10, and I feel like that's the thing when we get as the ball gets rolling, we'll realize like each one that we're mentioning is supposed to really showcase, or should say, is supposed to affect the storyline and the characters that we're watching. So hopefully that along the lines is what comes out. But get into kind of number 2, and let's see what it says here. Yeah, it is. All right. Number 2, number 9. Mark, or should I say, what is next to GMK up to that for you?
I would go with Godzilla versus Mothra, 92.
Okay.
We have a lot of the classic themes, this is really great. I really particularly like the Bachelor versus the Self-Defense Forces. And then when Godzilla appears, that's the track. It's really slow. It kind of represents this more ominous, ponderous Godzilla because he's much larger now. And then when like Imago Mothra appears and the larval Mothra's birth, those are done really beautifully. Those scores. And then we have a lot of harp in this episode. Like the Mothra into outer space, and then the ending is really it's a beautiful, but it's also very mournful, and so I kind of like that sad quality of some of these tracks. But then there's a lot of classic themes. So yeah, Mothra or Godzilla versus Mothra.
Since you mentioned that, can I add too? I personally feel, and this is like no disrespect to the originals, the Peanuts, but the singers in this one, I feel like their voice lent itself to the song just a little bit more.
yeah. Like I think that for me the definitive Mothra song, the one from 1990, the Heese era Mothra song's probably the one that stands out the most for me. It's beautifully sung, and obviously even the end, like you see, when Mothra's flying off into space, it's beautiful, but it's also kind of, like you said, mournful, and there's just something about that last few minutes of this film that just stands out. The Citric Springs is just fantastic.
See, that's what I like. See, that's in knowing that it's supposed to affect you some kind of either emotionally, maybe you make you mad, maybe make you feel good, but it's like sometimes it's a misdirect, sometimes anyone is like, is that what the composer or the artist who made it was supposed to do? But then again, sometimes the composer and the director don't coincide with one another, and this is a problem with some films, especially here in America. They don't get it straight, and that's probably why some of them, discard one another, because like, you didn't do what I was supposed to, you didn't give me what I want, you didn't give me what was supposed to be the feel for this film, and that something like that is usually lost on certain things. But Kevin, you're number 9.
So I'm sticking with the Showa era, because like I say, I'm more for this more serious toned film, but this is the score from one of my favorite Showa era films, and it is Godzilla vs. Gigan by Akira Ifube. And I love the main theme right at the beginning of the movie, where the theme, it's got like a unique taste, and it kind of spins off, and it's just it's a mixture of classic Godzilla, but it's got like a sci-fi twist to it, and the whole story of that movie was wacky about the cockroach aliens and the Children World Center and them controlling Ghidorah and Gigan from these large tapes, and then obviously you have that wacky scene with Godzilla and Anguirus communicating, and you see the speech bubbles, and but there's also the music score when Anguirus decides to go and investigate, and the military are attacking him, and there's just all sorts of amazing like themes and trumpet sounds throughout the course of the score, which is just really adds itself to the story.
See, and even though those are rehash scores from past, and I don't know why, but it works so effectively for that film. It's like it's really drawing you in. That yeah, whatever Ikefube did, it's like it actually works. It actually works in this scene. It actually works, especially the scene when Godzilla and Gearless when comes across, swimming towards shore. You hear that soundtrack or that particular opening of Battle in Outer Space score played before it. I thought that was so effective for that film. It's like, I mean, for that moment, it's like, yes, that works there. It's like someone just said that was just a brilliant motif. I love that. See,
Akira Ikefube was really the master of reusing themes, but just keeping them sounding fresh.
True.
Yes,
he was.
And then you begin identifying the monsters with their theme song. So when they show up, you hear that. When I see Ghidorah, I want to hear that classic Ghidorah soundtrack. And so I get that. And we have a couple that represent Godzilla as well. But
yeah.
I like that. That's very nostalgic for me.
You know what it reminds me of? It reminds me of wrestling. So, like, for example, if Hulk Hogan comes down to the aisle to go into the ring, you know his theme. If Stone Cold Steve Austin, as soon as you hear the glass break, he's coming out. So it's like that with the kaiju in many aspects, where when you hear the Godzilla theme, you know he's coming. When you hear the Rodan theme, you know he's coming. Mothra or King Ghidorah, it's like a similar feeling that prepares you for what's about to transpire on screen.
See. That's what I'm talking. See, this is why I'm liking this right here. This kind of thought process, because that's exactly what the music is supposed to do. It's supposed to give you that energy when you're seeing that. Go ahead, Andy.
Since we're mentioning Ikefube, can we just agree that he needs to be mentioned in the same breath as John Williams? Like,
of course.
Don't get me wrong. I think John Williams is great, but it's like, can we not overlook Ikefube? I'm not putting down the man who was the head conductor of the London Symphony Orchestra. That's a massive accomplishment in itself. But when you look at Ikefube, he was often lucky to be given 2 weeks to make a soundtrack, and he didn't have a full orchestra to compose to. He's like, this room can hold this many musicians. Choose your instruments wisely. You have 2 weeks to write the scores, 2 weeks to get them to perform it good. So what he did with the minuscule resources he had, I think is just as much, if not more impressive than being put in charge of one of the finest orchestras in the world and having those unlimited resources. The man knew how to make magic with nothing.
Exactly. Well, just like you can't separate movies, certain movies from their John Williams scores, you cannot separate Godzilla from the Ikefube soundtrack either.
No,
it's inextricable. It's so identifiable with these movies. So I totally agree there.
Yeah. Even in the press lead up to Godzilla King of the Monsters, there was an interview with Bear McQuarrie, and he's like, I'm not calling the Godzilla theme the most iconic film theme of all time, but can you name one that's been around longer?
Yeah,
not too many.
Well, Anthony, what's your number 9 in terms of your favorite score?
My number 9 is the soundtrack to my all-time favorite Godzilla movie, The Return of Godzilla.
Yes,
this is just such a great, dark, eerie 80s soundtrack, and this is kind of a double because I'm also including the American re-edit 1985 with the insert music, because that insert music fits so perfectly that it might just as well have been in the original. It doesn't feel out of place at all. I just love that more atmospheric, dark, eerie thing, and how it like clashes when you get like that triumphant theme for the Super X. As you can see, this one I like so much. I got the Mondo Records version, which comes with a
that's pretty cool
actual red vinyl. In this soundtrack, it's even great to just listen to by itself. It's not one of the
Snarks and sass. Yo.
Here we
it's
go.
not one of the best in the franchise, but it's one of the most standouts for how different it actually is.
Right. And here, Mr. Daniel Miller, he has a curious question here. I'm curious to know what a Godzilla movie with music scored by John Williams would sound like, including his take on Ikefube's theme.
Honestly, I
That's
think
a very
out
good
of
question.
respect, I think out of respect, he wouldn't tinker with it much at all, if at all.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
That's
agree.
sound
Like, like you
Go ahead.
can't imagine anyone doing too much to, like, say, the Star Wars theme or the Jaws theme out of what he's done, John Williams. So out of the same respect, you wouldn't want people to, if timber with the Akira Ifube stuff.
I think what Bear McQuarrie did in King of the Monsters would probably be, even though he wouldn't have done it the same way, it would be exactly what to expect. He would keep it most the same, maybe adjust the tempo, and like Bear McQuarrie did, I can see him adding some chorus to it, but other than that, it's going to be just left untouched.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I guess to each their own, and maybe say just stay in within the boundaries at least. I mean, make up your own stuff, but it's like try to stay true to what that artist made for this to make it iconic in the first place. It's like,
yes, couldn't agree more.
Yes. Well, for me, my number 9, it's going to be, well, it's funny, Ikefube, but this is a Heisei one. Godzilla versus King Ghidorah. To me, I don't know why, but this one, and this is one of my favorite films anyway from the Heisei era, but it's the beginning of it, especially when the title comes on and you hear this triumphant, kind of dun, 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 dun. It's like something's leading you into something. We don't know what's coming because you don't have no idea where it's taking you. You don't have no idea what's the next turn around the bend here. It's letting you know, and that's one thing about Ikefube. Even in his later years, he still was able to crack out something that was just like just grabs you. He's just letting you know it's like you're in for a ride, but you don't know what kind of ride it's going to be. And
it's because of his daughter he came back to do this movie.
Oh, really?
Because they had been asking him for a few movies to come back now, and his excuse was always, "You're retired." And he actually agreed in between the last movie and this one that he scored a soundtrack for a documentary. And his daughter basically told him, well, you just made that documentary, so when they do the next Godzilla movie, you can't say you're retired anymore.
Yeah, I hadn't thought about that. See, that to me makes a lot of sense, knowing that you have a passion, you have a drive, even though you, like I say, you're out of the game, you're not really out of it because something is there that you can really give more to the viewer, and I feel like that's what he did because I didn't realize, something personal like that was put into play when it comes to doing something like that. Because let's look at Rick Baker, he's a famous makeup artist. He actually came out of retirement to do a particular film recently, and I'm just like, dude, aren't you retired? Aren't you done? And speaking of John Williams, he's recently come out of retirement just to score this one particular Spielberg film that's supposed to be coming out next year. I'm like, dude, I mean, here's a man who's nearly 100 years old, nearly a century old, literally came out of retirement just to score this particular film. Makes you realize, like, there's something, even though he's, like I say, pretty much over the hill, he still got something that's passionate enough to say, well, if this person really wants me to do this, I'm going to be there to, do it for me. And that's kind of showing that not so much a honorable thing for someone that you've been working for so long. It's showing that you have a drive, knowing that maybe even though I'm not into it no more, maybe there's one more, kind of a ride that I can do that may just be memorable. And somebody might say, wow, even at this particular point in time, he still got it. Composers are one of the unsung heroes when it comes to doing certain things, and he's just one of those individuals. So, like, moving on, number 8. Again, with you, Mark. From the lowest to whatever, where are we at now?
Yeah, it's hard because I began liking these, but this is a movie that I have seen way more in English than in Japanese, and I'm used to hearing the American version soundtrack. It's the 1962 King Kong versus Godzilla, and I'm used to hearing the music from Creature from the Black Lagoon.
Yes.
But going back, I love the main title, because we hear the main title also revisited in other Godzilla movies, including, not to be a spoiler here, like including -1. We hear those themes and revisited, which I love. I love Thunder and the Devil, and Godzilla's resurrection, the Devil of the South Seas, and then King Kong versus Godzilla 2. This is revisited in Godzilla versus King Ghidorah. That music is kind of reused.
Yeah.
So a lot of these themes have continued to linger. But this is just something because I love this movie so much. I've seen it probably, I don't know, I can't even tell you how many times I've seen it, or at least had it on when I'm working. Yeah, it's just iconic, of that era, that early Showa era.
And I just want to show you something real quick.
That with it being reused in Godzilla's theme in the later movies, that's also a very technically impressive feat, how he did that and made it feel so organic, because it doesn't feel tacked on at all.
Right. Exactly.
There's somebody here, the Radical Squadron. Yes. Yes, Godzilla's battle cry. Yes, that was something I thought was done by a sound engineer, but it turns out it was Fugube who actually made that iconic roar come out, and Mr. Dan Filming says, yes, that's what we were just discussing, Daniel. It's like, it's brought him out of retirement. Yes, it's like, I love that, but I would never know it was his daughter to help him bring that to light. But I wanted to bring this to your attention, Mark. Well, even y'all guys, this is the soundtrack to King Kong versus Godzilla.
Nice.
Very nice.
And I'm gonna tell you, I won't tell you where it's on my list, because it's actually on my list too as one of my favorite scores. Because see, like you, Mark, I was always listening to the American cut, where you hear Creature from the Black Lagoon,
right,
you see it,
right,
blah blah blah. But when I heard that they had a soundtrack of the original music, I would say I want to hear this. I want to just see how it sounds. And trust me when I say the score, the cue that got me the most, I'll kind of let you know what it. But it let me know it's like I want to buy the film itself in its original Japanese cut, because I want to see how it fits in the narrative. And it's like, oh, that's pretty brilliant.
Some of the English dubbing though back in the day was hilarious. It was like watching a comedy.
Yes.
But it also kind of adds to the films, like the terrible English dubbing. But it's what makes them like memorable and magical and part of a childhood.
Right, exactly. It's part of your childhood. Because I didn't see King Kong versus Godzilla until I was in what was that? I was like 8. That was back in 1980 when I first saw it. I was like 9 actually.
Well,
what's up, Jake?
Yo, Jake, welcome. I was quite lucky how I got to see the Godzilla films. It was way back in the 1990s, like early 1990s, when I was a little kid. And we had a channel here in England which is called Channel 4, which is one of our big terrestrial channels. And there was a young upcoming television host who's now a huge host now. He does his own show. He's called Jonathan Ross. He's married to the woman who was the writer of the movie Stardust. I don't know if you remember that one. It had Michelle Pfeiffer in. So when he first started, he started hosting these late night shows on a Friday night called At the Movies. And he did At the Movies with Jonathan Ross, and he did the Creature Feature Month. And it literally was all of like the original Showa era Godzilla films, and it was like all the way from the original Showa era films, and that's how I discovered Godzilla as a kid. And I always remember my mum turning the lights off. It was a dark, damp night. It was raining. It was windy. My dad went to work because he worked night shift, and I remember she turned dimmed the lights in the living room. Had a big box television, and then I'm sitting there with some cereal, and then all of a sudden the screen went to black and white where you see the ocean, and then all you hear is Godzilla's roar, and that's it. I was hooked. Soon as I heard the roar for the very first time as a kid, I was absolutely fascinated, and that's what started my love as a Godzilla fan. And because they did the creature features on Channel 4 at that time when I was a kid, I actually got to see all of the Showa era films in order.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And they showed 2 films a night, so I got to see Godzilla 1954 and Godzilla Raids Again. It was great.
See, it's funny how little things like that just sparking up nostalgia, and it's just like it took one little moment to just change forever, and it's stuck with you since then. It's like here we are, older individuals, and it's like, oh wow, this is bringing me back to the time where it was simpler, but that will stick with me even when I'm long gone. That's
and the only other time after that I felt the same kind of emotions when I seen Jurassic Park for the first time in theaters when I was a kid. When my dad took me and my brother to see it, and I was just like Godzilla. I was just in awe of what I was seeing on the big screen.
And it looks beautiful on the big screen. It really does. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I remember some of my earliest memories of Godzilla films were going to the library with my cousin. I was probably 5 or 6. Going to the library and renting or getting 8mm films. He had a film projector, and we would put up a sheet over in my room, my bedroom, and I watched Monster Zero like that for the very first time, a 6-minute silent version of Monster Zero. But that was my first time seeing Ghidorah. I'd seen him in pictures, but I'd never seen Ghidorah.
Movement.
And I've ever since then, like, Monster Zero is one of my favorite Godzilla movies. But those memories, like you said, Jedi, those don't leave you. I'll remember that till I die, and that's just part of what makes it so much love for this genre, these groups of films, and just being a monster kid. There's just something about us or about the genre that pulls me in every time.
Yeah.
And see, I know I've told this story multiple times, many times on other people's channels and mine too. But when I first saw Godzilla versus Megalon, it was right here in this room, and I watched it with my brother, and it was during that NBC broadcast with Mr. John Belushi in that cheap-looking kind of Godzilla suit, for the intros, outros, and everything. That to me is something that that will never die with me. I mean, because that's always embedded in my brain, watching that with my brother. And I'm getting kind of sentimental here because it's like, oh my God, I'm getting older, but those things really don't leave you. It's just like something that you can think on a whim. It's like, I remember when I did that. I remember when I watched that.
You still take great joy in watching models get demolished.
Yes, exactly. It's always that case.
Right.
It's beautiful. But Kevin, moving on. You're number. I said 7. Yeah, number 7 here.
Well, I haven't done my number 8 yet. I don't think.
Oh, you haven't done your. Oh, what? Okay.
Yeah.
You didn't do number 8?
No, we're at number 8 now.
We're at number 8.
Yeah, we're at number 8. I thought we were at number. I thought
we didn't finish number 8. We're halfway done.
Okay, we did. Yeah, we haven't done number. Yes, we haven't done number 8. Sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself here. Okay.
So this might surprise people with being quite low on my list at number 8. I've got Shin Godzilla.
Okay.
Because I'll be totally truthful. Obviously, this was made by Shiru Sagishu and Akira Ifube. They're both connected to the score. Right. The film itself isn't, I've always had, it's been like a love-hate relationship with Shin for me. There's parts of Shin I absolutely enjoy. There's parts of Shin I don't enjoy. But it's always been a film it's always going to be the Godzilla film that I'm always going to have that kind of love-hate relationship with. Because there's parts I love, there's parts that I don't. But the one thing I will always love about Shin is the score.
Yes.
Of course, like that score with the opera singers right at the end, and where he goes supernova, and the laser beams are shooting out of his back.
Right.
He's just literally going roughshod across all of the city. Stuff like that I really enjoy. But this music score, I think, for a modernized Godzilla movie, like, it was very different to Akira Ifumi's, and there were just things about the score that for me worked for the film.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, see, that's what I'm talking about. I mean, and that, you know what's funny?
Yeah. Persecution of the Masses. Daniels put the name of that actual theme of that song with the opera singers.
Oh, okay. Yes. That's not him. Right. Did he put it? Okay, I didn't see it. Okay. Oh yeah, persecution. Right. Yeah. Persecution of Madness. That's what it's called. I always wondered what that was called. I thought it was just the main theme and everything. I didn't know what that was and everything. Mm-hmm. And what's up, my flock? What's up? How you doing? Hope you're enjoying yourself here. And let me just get this out of the way. Oh, okay. All right. Huh. It was better in the film. Trust me, Radical. It was. Believe that. But going on to number 8 with Anthony. What is your number 8, sir?
Number 8 is Godzilla versus Mechagodzilla 2.
Okay.
And because I love what they did with Mechagodzilla's theme. It's basically Godzilla's theme, but it's primarily composed with brass instruments. So, like, you really get a literal metal Godzilla theme where instead of like Ikefube, which used for Godzilla, used the more string and like woodwinds and whatnot, this relied heavily on the brass and some electronics, and it just gave it like this really industrial epic sound. And it was just, in so many ways, it was just a complete inverse of the Godzilla's theme, even if it's effectively the same theme played with other instruments, as well as that the theme for Baby Rodan's theme. This is, for me, is just a soundtrack that it fires on all cylinders.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, and, I agree. Like, this is on my list as well. Would you prefer me to just talk about that here while we're at this movie, or bring it up later?
Go ahead. Yeah, I mean, because you said it's on there, so go ahead.
Yeah, I have it as well. It's actually my next one that I was going to talk.
Okay, go ahead.
I do love that main title. It's loud, it's ponderous, and with a lot of big percussion. Oh my goodness, that dun 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 dun. I mean, those are just it like the impact of the percussion. And the training center is very frenetic, and I love the Godzilla versus Rodan, and then the creepy, haunting like music of ancient vegetation is just kind of this kind of almost like a soundscape. But then when we have the battle versus Godzilla 1 and 2, it's classic battle themes, and then the ending is just again haunting and mournful. It covers. It's a very emotional soundtrack, which is I think what I like so much about it.
Okay, beautiful. Well, get my number 8 out the way. Believe it or not, now this is from the Millennium series. It is from Godzilla against Mechagodzilla, not the versus. It's against Mechagodzilla, composed by this composer. I'll just say Miss Oshima. I'll just say that. I think that last name I can pronounce pretty well. But she's a composer of many of the Millennium soundtracks to Godzilla, and her music in this is one that got me noticed about her anyway, because it's got this really both a strong, beat in terms of military style, but at the same time showing the the heart of a certain soldier that's dealing with some kind of PTSD. Dealing with, loss of some of her comrades and everything, and trying to win back her, dignity in terms of, being there, in the fight of fighting Godzilla, and Miss Oshima's score, pretty much the music throughout the movie really gives you that haunting, especially a moment where we see the child that's who's a child of the doctor that's reforms, Mechagodzilla from bones of the old original Godzilla. She's talking about how when she loses her mom, and talking about this moment, we see how it's so effective with, how the music really affects that moment, and you really get that sense of sadness, that sense of, just, I didn't realize it was like that, and to me, this is one of those moments where I say music really cradles you and realize like you are thinking about you're going to see Godzilla in action and Mechagodzilla, of course, in action, but this is a moment where before -1, you really are invested with the characters, the human characters, before you get with the monsters, because we know we're going to see the monsters, but you are thinking about the human beings and knowing that they're not just, sci-fi, they're not NPCs, they're actually breathing, thinking individuals that you care about. You want to see more of them, So that's my number 8. But since you
Nice.
mentioned, like I say, number 8, Mark, like I say,
that was my number 7. So
well, number 7. Well, I tell you what, jump the
next time
That's my
I'll
number
wait till my turn, and I'll just say,
Okay, that
my
was number 7. So
Yeah,
we'll
I will defer my time back to you, Jedi. Yes,
okay then.
now that
Thank
we
you.
got it figured out.
All right, perfect. We'll jump to Kevin here, and we'll get your number 7 in terms of your next.
So my number 7 has already been mentioned by Anthony, and it is Godzilla 1984.
Okay.
I absolutely adore the opening of this movie, like just the theme itself, like the fire, seeing the volcano, and just the introduction. It felt very different to the other openings of previous Godzilla movies, and that initially is what resonated. But then, in all, the whole score's just fantastic, and I love the whole story of the movie. For me, is fantastic, and then you have that music at the end where Godzilla falls into the mountain, into the volcano, and that just adds to the story more. So for me, it's like I was saying, I started off with the more campy, more Showa era type themes, and now as my list progresses, we're getting more into the more serious tone Godzilla themes, because I like the more serious Godzilla films more than the campy, crazy ones. But I can still just switch my mind off and just love Godzilla for what Godzilla is. That's why Godzilla versus Gigan's one of my favorite movies.
Okay.
Invasion of the Astro Monsters, I absolutely adore that as well. Especially, I love the aliens from Planet X. They're just fantastic. And I even like Space Amoeba. Space Amoeba is one of my favorite Showa era kaiju films.
Okay. And I have to ask this question. Did you see it in its original? Did you see it first in its original Japanese cut, or did you see it in the
So originally I seen obviously the American cut with Raymond Burr. And then many years later, I finally did get to see the original Japanese cut. But I think both work effectively. It's exactly what Anthony said. Even with the added music, it works well. It blends in well. It really, it's like he says, those added bits of score should have just been added to the original soundtrack.
True. Okay. Well, all right then. Well, before we go any further, let me get some of these comments out the way. Mr. Danny Miller, here we go. Yes, yes. That theme, but that's what Kevin was saying. That theme for Shin Godzilla, it's not the best film, but then again, the music in there really gets you invested. It really draws you in as far as that goes. And Radical saying, oh, was it? Oh, I didn't know that. Okay. Oh, wow.
Nice.
That's okay. Isn't that a coincidence? Okay. And Mr. Miller says this. Honestly, I do believe that. That's my personal opinion. I think she is, and that's unusual to know that a
Agreed.
woman. Yeah, we don't see too many female, composers doing music, and it's sad that some of them don't get the chance to do stuff like this. But she really knocked it out of the park with that one, And he's got one more.
Yeah. That's what resonates with me, Daniel Miller. Just the opening of 1984, whether it's the American or whether it's the Japanese version. It's just the opening and the music just works so well within the foundations of the movie.
You really should have been in here with us for this one, Professor.
You really should have. Yeah, I was going to say, Professor, you should have been here because I know your take on this would have been great. But I mean, like I say, time and whatever. But yes, your input on here is very well received because that's the thing. Because I was trying to think of the theme that was played in the 85 version, some of it, and I was kind of like, what was the name of the composer? I couldn't remember, but yeah, that's him. So. But Anthony, what's your number 7, sir?
Number 7 is for a film that's admittedly not great, but the soundtrack has just always stuck with me, and that is Godzilla versus Space Godzilla. I love Space Godzilla's theme. I'm praising the music, not the movie, Kevin.
He's
I love Space Godzilla's theme because it's a great villainous piece of music. Sorry, Kevin.
I think you just broke Kevin's soul right there with that one.
I at least admitted the film wasn't great.
What do you like the Birth Island one? It sounds an awful lot like You Only Live Twice.
Yeah,
that kind
dude, doesn't it though?
I love just this dark, villainous theme they gave for Space Godzilla, as well as Mugera's theme, which is this great. It's like a good inverse where you get this great heroic theme. Same thing for the theme when Godzilla's coming to Japan to face him. You have something that it's just very much a military march. Again, not a very particularly good film, but I love the music. And also one of the ones that really put this over the top for me is the song, that beautiful song that starts playing at the end. Not a good movie, but great music.
Yeah, because I think I mentioned that when we did the Anubis top favorite Godzilla films, that was at my lowest peak because it's like Space Godzilla was. I mean, the music did hold up, but that movie all around was like, no, it wasn't. It wasn't doing it for me. So, but
I don't know if you can tell, Mark.
Like the Mothra trilogy, it was kind of felt a little too much like that.
Yeah, well, I don't know if you know, Mark, I am not a fan of Godzilla versus Space Godzilla.
I like the monster design. I would like to see something more with maybe a better treatment of the creature. But I do like the hyper battle. Is it area or arena? The slow version when they're fighting. Yeah, there's some really good music in that movie. It was on one of my also rans, but I've only got 2 tracks that I like, and it's not enough. That I wanted to talk about anyway. Yeah.
Okay. Well, we're at number 7 with me, and this is gonna blow some people's mind. But then again, it lets you know how effective it is because I'm not gonna say it's the best, it's not the worst either, but it's Son of Godzilla, which is made by a composer, Michiru Sato, and I don't know how many people feel about his music during the Showa era or even during some of the Showa films that he did, but he's actually a pretty good composer when it comes to certain soundtracks, and the soundtrack for Son of Godzilla is funny. He did, Ebera, the Horror of the Deep. He did that one, but it's like, I don't know. For some reason, that one is a little bit better filmed than Son of Godzilla, but for some reason, Son of Godzilla's score, the music in there has a more effective and more lively kind of feel. I mean, especially at the beginning where, we see the island, we hear this like dun 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 then it's kind of like that, but at the same time you realize you're getting this feel and everything. It's a feel good thing. And at the end of the film, when we see, he really brings in the emotion when we see Godzilla and Minya, in hibernation mode, and you just hear that amazing score. It's like, it's sad, but at the same time, it's letting you know, like, hey, it's not all bad. Everything's pretty good, And
Kumonga, though, the introduction to Kumonga in Son of Godzilla is amazing. Kumonga was just a perfect fit for that film, and even Kumonga's music score, like that kind of drum, doom, doom, as he like crawls across and then he fights Godzilla at the end.
Mm-hmm.
Just like you say, it does have serious moments. Like there's that time where Kumonga's on his back, and you can see the pincers like that, and then out comes the spike into Godzilla's stomach, and then it's in the eye of the giant praying mantis.
Mm-hmm.
So there is it's a mixture of feel good, but it also has its it still has like the dark qualities as well.
Right, exactly.
I love the main set design.
Oh yes,
it is one of my absolute favorite sets. It's gorgeous, and I do love parts of this movie.
Hey, let me see. Make sure I got this one. Let's see, 10, 9, 8, 7. Yes, okay. I'm making sure I got it. Sometimes, see, this is what happens when you get older. You gotta make sure it's like cover all the bases of. Are you losing your mind? But I'm not.
Just accept it and write down as many notes as you can.
That's what I do, and that's what I'll continue to do.
There you go.
But we're on a good roll here, though. We're coming up with,
and we're having a good time. That's what's most important.
I'm loving this.
Yeah.
This is brilliant because see, I know, and I like I said again, I wish Nick was here, because it's basically his idea. But you know what?
It's okay.
He gave me the go ahead. It's like, and I'm doing it, and I'm like, hey, I'm having fun with you guys. I'm loving this energy, so I'm loving this. So, we're gonna go on to number 6, and kind of again with you, Mark. What's above the one that you mentioned previously?
This one is Godzilla vs. Destroyer, 1995. Okay. There were a lot of music in this that I really love, and like the Godzilla versus Space Godzilla or Mechagodzilla 2 rather. There's a lot of very emotional music in this. The main title is fantastic. It's kind of frightening and big. The reflections of Emiko I found to be really mournful, and that theme is going to return later. And I think then the Godzilla versus Super X3 is a great. You get a lot of high energy, and then the fights, the versus Destroyer, Junior versus Destroyer, Godzilla versus Destroyer. There's so much big moments here, but for the song that stands out to me that still gets me in the gut every time is Requiem. That scene when Godzilla dies, I just bawl. I just want to sob, and I hear it on its own. It reminds me of the theme from the original Gojira, with the haunting prayer. It's very similar in that it's achy, and then hearing the theme, the main Godzilla theme played out in flute and very lightly. It's like, the waterworks come. So yeah, Destroyer.
Oh my God. Well, since that's your number 6, I might as well say, brother, that's my number 6. So I was like, when we get to it, I'll skip myself. But yes, number 6 is Godzilla versus Destroyer, because same thing. I mean, this was Ifukube's last hurrah, and trust me when I say he did such a. I mean, like I say, the opening of, especially when you see the title card come up, and it's just like it hits. It's like. It hits you, It's like Hifukube hits you where it hurts the most. It's like this is gonna be it. This is like we ain't holding nothing back. Like I kind of feel. And I'm like, yes. I mean, especially the Requiem part when Godzilla finally meets his end. It's like, who can say they actually didn't shed a tear when he, just left the earth, or at least saying that this particular version of him goes away, but somehow the son inherits the father's strength. It's just beautiful. But but moving on, like I say, number 6 for you, Kevin. What is yours, sir?
So my number 6 is, oh yeah, I've lost my list. It's here. So mine is Godzilla 2000.
Okay.
Takayuki Hattori is the composer. Sorry, I loved this because it's the first Godzilla film of the Millennium Era. It's the first one after 1998, and so instead of just bringing back the traditional Godzilla theme, they tried to go down a different route. But there's one part of this soundtrack that just is so haunting and just stands out, and it's right at the end, and it's after Godzilla 2000's defeated Ogra, and basically he's now just destroying the city, and there's this ominous kind of score happens with this singer like singing, and it's called Dreaded God. And it basically starts off with like this haunting sound, and then it eventually then does go into the Godzilla theme, but by that point the credits are now rolling up the screen. It's the final score, the final song on the album of the score, and it, for me, I just thought it was an amazing way to end the film. And I found Godzilla 2000 to be a unique movie. They kind of go down like the Showa route, or like classic by bringing in an alien creature. Godzilla 2000 has such a unique design with the purple back spines. I just thought the film, not knowing going in, watching it, what to expect, and how I seen Godzilla 2000, I actually was on holiday. I was on vacation, but I was in Cyprus, of all places, in the boiling heat. And there was this little, what was like a movie cafe on the island where they would have videotapes or CDs or whatever. And in the corner, believe it or not, was Godzilla 2000. So I literally went to the counter and said, all right, can I have a pizza, please? A glass of Diet Coke, and can I watch that movie? And you paid for it.
That's great.
And then you basically got sat at a table with a little booth, like in a booth.
Yeah.
So your table would be like that, and then in front of you would be a tiny screen. And then you would put the videotape inside, and it would play while you're sitting waiting for the pizza to come, and then you'd have your drink, your pizza, and watch your movie.
I love that.
Yeah. And where was this at again?
That's a great idea.
It was on the island of Cyprus.
Oh.
And
I guess we can do the same with Grubhub now. We guess we're in our own home. But I just love the fact of getting into a small booth, going to a place and getting...
Yeah.
That's awesome.
That's cool. I don't know why they don't have something like... I mean, they probably do in some of these rural areas of America, but it's stuff like that they don't have anymore, in terms of fun.
There was a movie theater it was a secondhand movie theater. It got the movies after they came in the theater, but it had a small little bar and grill inside of it, and you can get your movie tickets, order your food, your drink, whether it be alcoholic or non-alcoholic, and take it into the auditorium and have it while you're watching the movie.
Yeah. Yeah, I do know where I live in the UK, in England. I live in the northeast of England. I'm basically the last major city before you cross the border to Scotland. And in my city, they've now opened a couple of these cafes that are called Eat Flicks. So basically what you do is, but you have to book in advance, and it's like £60 to buy. And you basically pay, and you basically sit at a bar, at a table. There's a big screen in front of you, and you eat what's in the movie. So, for example, with it being Christmas time this season, they're showing Home Alone and Elf. So, like when Home Alone, when he gets a pizza delivered, you'll actually eat the pizza that he's had delivered from the screen. Nice. So they started introducing these Eat Flicks cinemas or venues throughout the UK.
So they have the menu catered, and if you're watching Elf, you're gonna get the spaghetti with all the stuff on it and the syrup. I mean, you get the foods go with the movies?
Yes.
Oh, that's beautiful. Oh, I love that. I do
Wow.
not want to watch Matango there, please. No,
Yeah.
thank you.
Well, I mean, look, if you like mushrooms,
I do not. I don't like mushrooms because of Matango.
Oh wow,
I have
okay.
never willingly eaten a mushroom because of that movie. Yes,
Oh
and
my
when I
God.
told Kenji Sahara that when he was at G-Fest, he just thought he just about died. He thought that was hysterical. The fact that that movie scared me so much as a kid that I wouldn't eat mushrooms. So
Oh my God,
Mhm.
okay.
yeah.
Well, no,
That's a
well,
really
like I
cool
say,
experience, Kevin. I love that. That's a really cool experience.
Yeah, it's called Eat Flicks, and they've opened the first venue in Newcastle, where I'm from. But because it's become so popular, they're actually going to try and franchise it and open them up in different cities. But so it's something that started here where I live.
Yeah, I love that.
okay.
Well, we have the Alamo Draft House, I think, here in the
Mhm.
States that does
I-
something like, but
I
it's
know
not.
in the
It's just a movie being shown. It's not like a movie with the catered
yeah.
food. That idea is fantastic.
Yeah, so I know in the summer they did Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, and apparently when you walked in, they had just a buffet table just full of sweets and chocolate cakes and candy canes, and you just basically took a bowl, you took a tray with 3 little and you just helped yourself to anything off the buffet table, and it
So-
was all sweets and
Oh
confectionery
my
and
God. Talk about diabetes.
I was gonna say diabetes.
After you said that, I just can't help but think somewhere out there, Wilfred Brumley just sat up in his grave, said diabetes, and laid back down.
Yes.
Oh, well, we are coming to your house, Kevin. So hey,
Yeah, they-
that's
right?
we're gonna go see some e-flicks, but like what happens when you see maybe like Jaws when the Kittner kid gets eaten by would you
Oh
get
my
I mean
God.
what do you get fed? You know, I gotta be at the
Well,
match. The movie has to be a right
well,
match.
I'd say they probably serve holiday roast.
Yeah.
There you go.
That's pretty
shrimp.
cool.
I don't know,
Yeah,
a bowl of shrimp.
yeah.
Jake
That's
here
awesome.
said something about he has a theater called the Film Alley where they say they get the tickets, and if you're hungry, you can order your food and get your name. Oh, really? Give your name and they'll bring it up to your seat. Oh, wow.
Oh, I like that.
That's pretty interesting.
That sounds like cool, but it can also sound like it could be kind of distracting when you're
Yeah.
trying to watch a movie.
Watch
and
the
people are
film, you know,
across
especially
their-
Yeah, there's cinemas like that, yeah, called Everyman Cinema, where basically you walk in and it's a giant auditorium, it's just full of settees and beds. And you can lie on a bed or sit on a settee, and they bring you bring your food in a tray to your seat, to
That
your
would just be an
setting.
expensive nap. I would just fall asleep. You come in to
Yeah.
lay down.
Given how like more common bed bugs are nowadays, no thank you.
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh.
But Anthony,
Kevin, have you gone to that one too? Have you gone to any of the,
Every
you said
man
the Eat Flicks? Have you gone to one of those?
I haven't done Eat Flicks yet because it's something that's just started, and that I know in the summer it started and it was the Willy Wonka, and now they're doing Elf and Home Alone because there's only 2 rooms,
Right.
so there's only 2 rooms, so they can only show two films at a time.
Yeah.
So, but it's always fully booked. It's always fully booked. But apparently after Christmas they're going to be doing Mamma Mia and something else. So who knows? I'll eventually get to do. But I've done the Everyman Cinema, and it's basically just sitting on the couch, a giant couch, eating a pizza, watching a film.
That's great. That's
Can you
great.
say it was kind of like what we had when we went to San Diego and saw Rebirth? I mean, was it kind of like those seats or a little different?
No, it's like a giant couch, like a settee
like-
that you'd have in your home, but a nice and soft, and just don't fall asleep like you did in San Diego. Walter, when we
Yes,
all
'cause
went.
I fell
Yeah.
asleep when I was, but that's only because we was walking around so much. I think I didn't know that I was that exhausted. You know, I fell asleep
Yeah.
like 10 minutes into the film. It's like, oh my God, what the hell? You know, so
Yeah, so
Yeah.
so me, I met up with Walter in San Diego on vacation, and
yeah.
so I'd done a lot of walking. And well, while we were there, Rebirth had come out, Jurassic World Rebirth. So I thought, right, we might as well go see it together. I never seen a film of Walter before.
Mhm.
And 10 minutes into the film, I looks over and he's like,
I'm out. I'm out. So, but hey, that's one of those memories you can't forget. You know, that's how it is. So, but Anthony, we're still on number 6. What is your number 6 in terms of favorite? Let's go ahead.
Mothra versus Godzilla from 1964.
Okay.
There is just so much to love about this soundtrack. The opening theme, it doesn't just work in a Godzilla movie, but you can put it in a disaster movie, why said disasters happening, and that theme would fit because it just feels so elemental. It feels like a force of nature. The Mothra theme, always a classic, but my favorite thing about why this is so where it is on the list, the final battle. I just love how it wasn't just a battle of Godzilla and Mothra, but their themes were dueling throughout the movie. In depending which monster has the upper hand, that monster's theme is playing more predominantly. And I thought that was just like such a brilliant touch that, hey, let's not just have the monsters fight, let's have their themes fight too.
Say, that's brilliant. I like that. I mean, and I love how the beginning of Mothra versus Godzilla starts out. It's like this kind of chaotic sounding, with these cymbals and drums. It's like okay, what's going on here? And you don't hear that in the American cut. You don't hear that at all. But in the Japanese cut, it's like right there, and it's very vocal in terms of the sound it's giving off. So that's pretty good though. But like I say, I already gave my number 6. So Mr. Justice, you are the justice of the league here. You give us, because we're the halfway here.
We're at number 5.
We're number 5. So,
yeah.
Sir,
now this was probably should have been earlier in the list, but because of the impact of the movie on me, and this is where it's at, and the soundtrack is just so remarkably different. This is Godzilla -1.
Yes.
This is in some ways because I finally listened to the soundtrack just on its own, because I could not separate it from the movie, and the movie is so big, and but like it is unlike any other soundtrack of any Godzilla movie in its use of like the keys and chorus and the song Divine. This is when Godzilla shows up. It is horrifying. It is majestic and terribly frightening. Prey at the end is wonderful, unscathed. Yep, I think it was and Resolution. It's that very militant and driving kind of beat. Yeah, there's just so much to like here about it. And again, such a very emotional score for an emotional movie.
Yeah.
And this is a composer here. He's a young man. He's not that young because he's about our age, Mark. But he composed it very well. And let me just say, this is probably the one, besides Destroyer, I can honestly say this is the one time where I cried most of the film. His music was not helping, because it was like so drawing you in. It just had that effect on you. I mean, I felt it was brilliant. So, but yeah, that's good. Kevin, number 5, sir. We're halfway there. So, what you got?
So, my number 5 is Godzilla versus King Ghidorah, 1991, and this film for me is my favorite of the Heisei era. There's a couple of particular songs in this that I think define the film. Obviously the whole where you see the Godzillasaurus and his takes on the army and he gets shot and he's lying there, and then you've got the Japanese commander who's saluting to him with tears in his eyes, and then he gets placed by the future people, and he gets placed in the ocean, not knowing that there's a submarine about to hit. And then a submarine, but then obviously this is from Godzilla versus Biollante, so let's see, from 1984 to then Biollante, when we get to Godzilla versus King Ghidorah, this is the biggest version of Godzilla in the Heisei era. And I always love the introduction to this version of Godzilla, who the suit and everything, where the submarine is sank. He then comes ashore, and there's a score, and it's like it's like it is the Godzilla theme, but it's been and it's my favorite version of the Godzilla theme. It's a bit slower, and it is called "Arrives in Hokkaido," and it's where he comes out of the ocean and he climbs up and he's like walking across the landscape, and you just see the size and the power of Godzilla. Just love that, and then of course he meets up again with the Japanese commander in his, his skyscraper building, and then they're eye to eye again, and it's like he gets recognized by Godzilla, and there's that beautiful, like, sad, emotional music, and then Godzilla just says, sorry, boom, and destroys the building, and then of course all of the battle music with Ghidorah and the introduction to Mecha King Ghidorah. It's just a beautiful soundtrack.
Yes, it very much is, and that's it's kind of funny, that moment where he pretty much blasts his the one he saves in a way. It's like, wow, it's like, I am what I am. I'm a force of nature. I can't change who I am. And it's like, bye bye. It's like, all right, that's how we do this. He's not gonna be afraid of who he is. When I'm talking about Godzilla, he's like, I am this, and to change me, it will take a whole lot of other things to change me. And it's like, that's a moment there. So, but Anthony, number 5 on your list. What do you have?
Godzilla versus Biollante.
Okay.
Much like 84, it's just another great, just 80s sounding just soundtrack. I love Godzilla's theme in this, the Super X theme, which there's not a bad theme for Super X in any of these movies. Just Biolante's theme and just like composing choices in this film, it felt very close to Ikefube at times, but also did its own thing, and just the way the music was implemented, and even like the sad music at the ending when the professor gets killed, and you gotta just have that like somber finale after one of the most unique, what would go on to be one of the most unique and beloved of all the Godzilla films. This soundtrack just elevates everything in the movie.
Yes, it does. I mean, that's one of the things about, because when I first saw Biollante, I didn't know what to expect in terms of the story or whatever, but the thing was that caught me the most was the music. The music was the thing that really gravitated me to say, okay, this is a different turn of events, and this is not exactly what I thought of as Godzilla music, but it does the job.
I actually saw Biollante after getting home from the hospital.
Oh, really?
I had something called the croup. I had to go to the hospital, and then we had to go to the mall to go to Sears to get me a humidifier. And I wanted to get a movie, and my first thing was I wanted Return of the Jedi because I hadn't seen it yet. But I just decided to go check the Godzilla movies first, and I saw Godzilla versus Biollante, and I'm like, nope, forget Return of the Jedi. I want Godzilla. It's a Godzilla movie I haven't seen before. I want this one.
Okay, cool. And Mr. Danny Miller has something here saying that his favorite part of the that I like that. Yes, it hits. That's why I say -1. See, and I can tell you now, when I first had this idea of what soundtracks that I would say I was going to enjoy, like I say, it was before -1 and before Shin Godzilla, but after -1 and a couple others, it's like, yeah, my whole point of view of these films has changed in terms of what the music has done for me, and that movie, like I say, did something to me, so it changed my whole aspect of how I feel about it, so that's why I say I need to do this particular, podcast. I feel like this needs to be expressed this kind of way. But for number 5, we mentioned it before, and that is Ghidorah, the three-headed monster. Going back to the Showa days, and to me, I feel like as much as I can say I like Mothra versus Godzilla's music in there, somehow this score, because it's an introduction to a terrifying threat to the planet. You know, Ghidra, the three-headed monster, is pretty much the music in here let you know it's like this is his movie, basically. This is his, you know, theme. You know, it's like every time you hear that music, you know, hear that particular theme for Ghidra, it's like, oh yeah, here it comes. Here comes the storm. Here comes this shadow that's gonna creep across the land and it's pretty much gonna wipe out anything that's in front of you. You know, what you see here. And interesting enough about this theme to King Ghidorah, I'm pretty sure Professor knows this. Maybe Anthony does too. It's actually an offshoot version of the Varan the Unbelievable theme, believe it or not. You know, it's the same composer, Ikefube, but it's actually something kind of like rehashed, or should they reissued in terms of making it more broader, more
it's recycling it.
Yeah, recycling it, you know, and that's kind
or
of what
cannibalizing. It was
basically that's what it was doing.
Yeah.
He's definitely doing that, you know, and but it works here, you know, because before I even saw Varan, you know, I didn't know that that's what that was. But when I did hear the theme for Varan, I was like, okay, I hear it, but you know, for some reason, it's not. I'm not saying that it wasn't effective, but it doesn't seem like it really fits the motif with that for that film. It fits better that it's King Ghidorah's thing, you know, and I feel like that's what makes it brilliant in my mind, you know. So, but like I say, pushing on, we are up to number 4. We're getting into the home stretch here, you know. This is just going really well. So, Mark, what is your so-called number 4 in terms of favorite score?
Number 4, I'm gonna go with Mothra versus Godzilla, 1964. Nice. This is just such a seminal classic, and of right in the peak era of the Showa films. You know, this is also a gorgeous looking movie. I think it's one of the most beautifully shot of them.
Yeah.
But if the main title is classic, then you have the giant egg versus shore. It's very mysterious, and I love that. The reflections of the little beauties, this kind of twinkling music. The Mothra song, here's where we hear it again with the Peanuts. I love the Godzilla advances. It's the classic theme, and then the fights. Again, it's Showa. It's about a perfect Showa film.
See, I didn't know that. See, thank you, Professor. Yes. Yes, that's why, as I say again, Professor, if you was here, you know, you definitely give your 2 cents in this, and I feel like you would do a marvelous job.
Yes, you should have been here, Daniel. You've let the team down.
Yeah. Yes, I think you'll make it up for something else later on, hopefully.
You better be there for Gamera on the 20th.
Professor, just so you know, one of these days, we're going to find a way to force you on one of these, even if we have to hog tie you and put you on screen.
Oh, God, that's too funny. But number 4 for you, Kevin?
So, number 4 for me, we're going to go to the Monsterverse.
Oh, okay.
Because we're going to be talking about Godzilla King of the Monsters 2019. For me, it's just an amazing soundtrack. It's like an updated version of the Showa era soundtrack with all of these, you know, amazing, you know, versions of classic Godzilla themes. And my absolute favorite part is our favorite song or piece of music in the score is Battle for Boston. Which it's like the slow build of the drums, and then it starts to ram up, and it's the scene basically where you hear like Millie Bobby Brown's in the giant stadium in Boston. She kind of turns and looks up. Then you just see the shadow, you see the figure of Godzilla standing there, and the jets are now behind him, supporting him. And then there's just that charge towards King Ghidorah. Just phenomenal. The reworkings of the Mothra theme, just brilliant. The kind of new serpent Ghidorah theme that they introduced. Rodan's theme when he bursts out of the mountain in Mexico. And of course, very end where all of the Titans are kind of bowing down to Godzilla. And he's standing there in this rubbled Boston. And he roars up into the sky, and it just pans out, and then you haven't read Godzilla King of the Monsters in the end credits. It's just a beautiful, Bear McCree, who did it, he just did a fantastic job. He was a fan of the original scores by Akira Ifube, and I really think it's a homage to his music. He didn't try to, do anything too drastic with it. There was a mixture of new music and updated versions of the Akira Ifube stuff, but in my opinion, it's just one big tribute to the Showa era. And if you think of that movie, you see like a lot of movies, like I've got a pet peeve with Michael Bay's Transformers. So when that came out, I think it was 2007, he totally redesigned the Transformer, because he says, I don't want them to look like these block cartoon characters. I want them to look and feel realistic, which is fair enough. But then you skip to a few years later and you get Bumblebee, and the first scene is the battle on Cybertron, and all of the characters look like they did in the 1984 animated G1 cartoon. Where I think the whole thing with Godzilla Godzilla King of the Monsters 2019, for me, it's just a huge tribute to the Showa era, and it's basically a retelling in many ways of Ghidorah, the three-headed monster. That's what
it is. Yeah, I mean that's it. I think this is that's again, I would think I would have one of the monster verses on here, but it's like they are good, I mean, the first 2014 one would have been on the list, but it's I feel like these are more powerful, and I guess that film, you don't see that much of Godzilla. That's probably why I say it would have been on the list. But and again, that's hearsay, but that's another something for something else later on the line. But Anthony, what's your number 5 favorite Godzilla score?
Number 4.
Number 4.
What's number 4? Oh,
okay.
No, see, I told you I'm getting there. Number 4, sir. I'm sorry.
4, 3, and 2. I'm gonna say on this list were the hardest for me to rank. Like, I did most of this list several times, and there was some tweaking, and like up until the last minute, Gigan was on this list, but it was 4, 3, and 2 that were the hardest for where do I want to rank them.
Right.
Just keep disappointing me, don't you, Anthony? Look, Gigan. First Space Godzilla. Now he's taking Gigan off the list.
It was painfully close. Okay, for argument's sake, in that case, to make Kevin happy, Gigan is tied with King of them with a GMK.
Okay.
GMK.
But at number 4, the original Godzilla 1954.
Okay.
This is just such an amazing soundtrack, from just how it complements the visuals. And even when you rewatch this movie, admittedly, the visuals haven't aged that well, but this soundtrack makes them hold up. And the one that stands out to me, not just for the impact in the scene, but for more personal reasons now, is the scene with the prayer for peace. Because as Kevin and Walter know, last year Hurricane Helene tore through my state, and we got hit not as bad as other places, but when I turned on the news and seeing the devastation in places that were not far drive from me, in my state, in my backyard, that theme makes that scene hit harder, because it's, again, I didn't live something to that extreme, but I lived through that, and I know what it's like to not be the one watching the musical trivia piece on TV. I know what it's like to be on the other side of that TV. So that theme in particular and that scene, it just hits me now on a personal level. It didn't before.
Yeah. See, that's what I'm talking about. I mean, it can resonate some things with an individual, and knowing that, music is it's to help, you know, keep the narrative, but at the same time, it can really, you know, resonate. I mean, it can awaken something in the back of your brain that you've experienced in real life, and knowing that that will take you to that particular moment, you know, and then making sure like, yes, this is what it's all about. You know, it's like it's sad that a movie, you know, you take it as enjoyment, but at the same time, you realize it's actually showing real life events that have haunted other people, and it can affect the person who's watching this. You know, and I feel like that's very genuine. And I should mention, you know, I'm very sure any enthusiast, Mark, I know you know this. I know Professor, and probably you too, Anthony. The theme for Godzilla, the '54 version, the 50 original one, you know, when we hear the music, that's supposed to be Godzilla's original theme, but we all know that the thing that we hear and like the most is actually used for the military march. The military march is actually something that was used for that, but we, even though it's in the movie, it's that cue is actually for the military, but for some reason it resonates more that that's Godzilla. That's Godzilla's thing. That's the thing that we like to hear when we hear in any form or fashion of a version of Godzilla when we see it. So technically, somehow either the fans or someone in the midst of it say, we're going to override the military and just say, let this be, you know, Godzilla's thing from here on.
Just how haunting and terrifying the Death March theme is when he's going through Tokyo. Just that low, bassy piece of music. Like, I've already mentioned, but like, I can't give Akira Ikefube enough credit, and it's criminal that he's not mentioned in the same breath as people like John Williams, people like Jerry Goldsmith. And shame on the Academy Awards for never giving this man a Lifetime Achievement Award, because he deserved it.
Well, this is why I personally, for myself, have discarded the Academy Awards, because they're too political, and I feel like, you know,
the only way I would ever watch one again is if they were giving him someone like Ikefube or even Ishiro Honda a posthumous life.
Well, I'm gonna tell you right now, Anthony, that's a dream in a dream, because I don't think that's going to happen anytime soon. If they do, it's going to be hell if they do. Because go ahead. What'd you say? I'm sorry. Oh, okay, yeah. No, and that's the thing right there. And he says, yeah, absolutely. No, that's the thing. I mean, we saw when Mr. Nakajima had passed away, he was in honorary mention in the people who had passed away, you know. But that, as I say, they don't recognize the people who really made an impact on us and who really made an impact on the world around us.
They have to get past the fact that these are guys in suits. I think that's probably part of it. It's the Godzilla films have been dismissed for a long time as children's fare, and though not entirely fair, or earlier one, they became that later on. But that's not the point. But I think that's probably why, even though he's an amazing composer and does work beyond just monster movies, they probably were just ignoring that.
And here's the even more frustrating part about that. Hollywood was built on what gets looked down on as the budget movie.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But I think -1's changed the course for that. I think -1's put a different set of eyes on the Godzilla franchise as a whole. Like, obviously, I think people who were fans, or at least knew 1954, will have respect for that, and maybe not the rest, but they know 1954, and now they know -1. And I definitely hope, because of the change of tone with -1 and bringing like the more seriousness back to Godzilla, I'm hoping it's going to make the MonsterVerse change as well, because I love 1950, I love 2014, I loved 2019 King of the Monsters, and I even like Skull Island, because it was different. It was like King Kong, but during the Vietnam era, and the composer actually of
Henry Jackman.
Hong Kong Skull Island, he's actually the composer of the next Monsterverse movie, Supernova. He's been announced. So, and I thought he did a good job with the theme. Obviously, he did some good work there. He made it feel very much during Vietnam setting, and it's more of a serious tone score compared to say compared to JVK, and of course New Empire, which basically the composer of those films said, I don't want to put any traditional Godzilla music in. Sorry, I want to make it my own thing, fresh, different, more sci-fi, more techno, whatever. And I just feel the themes for those two particular films, New Empire and JVK, is very hollow. I don't find their particular scores interesting at all.
I've said it before, but what frustrates me about that so much is that he used bits and pieces of Godzilla's theme. Okay, if you want to do an original theme, I'm fine with that. But don't incorporate bits and pieces of that original theme into your theme. Either do it all the way or don't do it at all.
See. And I'm just going to add on to Anthony's frustration with this. You know, when you bring up -1, Kevin, I'm going to say this again. You know, I've said that, and I've hammered this home a little bit. And some people have disagreed with me, but you know, to hell with them, because I'm going to say it again. Even though -1 was recognized by the Academy, winning an Academy Award for special effects, which it deserved, it should have got a hell of a lot more than just that. It should have got a lot more nominations than just that. I'm pretty sure it would have got nominated for, you know, best, you know, foreign film for sure. But
easily,
I knew it was never going. I knew it was never going to get nominated for best film. No way. But best international picture, yes, and special effects, yes.
What qualified Barbie for best film?
Because obviously, if you look at, you know, like if they have a best foreign film category, and it was universally praised, so it should have at least been nominated for that. And what always annoys me is they said, the reason it wasn't placed in that category because it didn't meet the time frame. But yet there was a film that came out in December which had Emma Stone in it, which was nominated for Best Picture, and then she won, I think, Best Actress. That was after the date where apparently it was the cutoff point. So that's why I don't believe in the Oscars, because they move the goalpost when they choose to move it.
Yeah, I think it's because they're thinking, again, they're carrying this prejudice. That's because it's a Godzilla movie, and they're thinking, it's gotta be a guy in a suit stepping on models. You know,
let's be real. It was good to see Godzilla finally get an Oscar, but to me, it also felt very hollow because the best special effects was them just throwing a bone.
Thank you. Thank Anthony said it best. That's what I'm talking about. You're just throwing them just a side piece, and it's like, I'm supposed to rest with them.
There were a lot of other movies that had science or special effects. I don't know if it was just that. I would have liked to have seen it got nominated for Best Picture, but realistically I didn't think it was going to happen. But I think they really are trying to at least acknowledge it. Whoever was on there pushing for it said, you got to see this movie. And they were probably afraid to put it in for something more than that, you know,
because it was so effective.
Well, I think because it was Godzilla. I think they're still thinking like, is this going to make us look bad if we nominate Godzilla? But yeah, I don't know. I don't know the process, but it's at least a lot of people heard about it that would never have otherwise. So you never know. They might have made some fans.
That's the thing about it. I mean, the funny thing is, someone once said that Godzilla is not political, but
oh goodness, it is. Of course,
it really is.
It's yes.
The whole point of 1954 is the Japanese cinema were not allowed to make a film about the war or the events after, so that it turned it into a monster movie to tell the story instead of.
Right.
That's actually kind of a debatable gray area because the occupation had ended the year prior.
Mm-hmm.
were still some like things in, but it was a lot more of a workaround. Like I've heard both, and it's like from what I've heard with that take, it's like it's kind of in the middle whether they could have or couldn't.
Well, they're also inspired by American cinema that was brought to them too, and we have like the Beast from 20,000 Fathoms, or like was it came from beneath the sea, and the Beast from 20,000 Fathoms rather, you know, which was an inspiration for Godzilla. So I think because seeing those films was part of it. So I think they wanted to do their own monster film, but make it relevant to their audience. And boy, did they ever do that?
Very much so.
Yeah,
but since we're speaking of -1, let me get my number 4 out the way, because it is -1, number 4. You know, I mean, because let's be honest, the theme to this film really just turned in me. You know, I mean, because I didn't know what to expect, and believe it or not, I saw it in black and white in the theater also, because just to see the effect of how it affects you, seeing it through that particular perspective as it did in '54, the original, you know, and it still worked for me, you know. It gave it a more darker feel. Not to say that the color didn't work for it, but it really gravitates you to know that, you know, this theme it's a very haunting one. It has its subtle moments where it's like, because it's showing the interaction of the human characters that, you know, are making the film, but at the same time we know that there's a threat that's really way more worse, or come to somewhat worse than man's own doing, but it's there, and it's such a foreboding kind of theme. And it's like, and at the very end, you know, when you hear that triumphant, when you bring in the chorus, that's what really makes it so great. When you hear the chorus in this film, it's like that. And to tell you the truth, that was what made me really cry in the film. You know, when you hear the chorus come up, that humanistic emotion coming about, it's like, it really made me just like, oh, I can't. I mean, I'm just why I say time and time again, why did this film not get the kudos that it did? It got the kudos from the Japanese side, you know, the so-called Japanese version of the Academy.
Yeah, it won the best picture at the Japanese version of the Oscars. It won like the Japanese Academy Award. So it's won more awards than you think. It's won lots of awards around the world. It won awards in Canada, believe it or not. Not just for special effects. It's won like Best Film of the Year award. And, you know, it's going to be recognized, especially for the year it came out, 2023, is one of those films that year that became a pop culture phenomenon, because it came out the same year as Oppenheimer. It came out the same year that you had Barbie, and remember, was Barbie versus Oppenheimer. And then in the middle you had -1, and all them 3 films are in the same kind of world and are going to be recognized as the big battle of 2023 when it comes to cinema.
And let me just bring this up, because someone argued me down when I mentioned about Barbie being nominated for Best Picture. And how did they go with it? They pretty much told me it's like, it's more than just a doll movie, you know, but like it's about women's independence and all this. Like, I'm like, good night, man. Okay, you say that's what it is, fine. Do not plug me with the fact that I'm just speaking my point about this film here should have got a different point of view in terms of it should have got this instead of this. I mean, like I say, you're getting something that's nominated that's based on the whole point of it. It blinds you from the fact that, what am I saying? What am I truly saying? They're going to say the same thing, that I missed the point of what they're saying. No, I got what you're saying. Just kind of, like I say, you know, take a sense of respect what my point of view is, you know, and that kind of anger. But at the same time, someone told me that, Walter, it's just a movie. It's just that. And I realized, like, you know what? Let me just pull the reins back and say, you know what? Fine.
We're all very passionate.
Yeah, we're very passionate. That's what
right.
Yes, that's the thing. And I want to throw this what Mr. Miller says. You know, he says here, you know, I think there's some embarrassment in the sense of that Godzilla movies has a fantastic storytelling style as present day Hollywood just can't reach, or at least try to make themselves, which is why I feel this is why I'm trashing
It very well
That's-
could be. That's a great possibility.
But I'm not trying to trash Hollywood in that sense. I'm just trying to say, can you get back to where made you passionate about making decent films in terms of storytelling? You're not telling a story. You're just trying to do the so-called, got you kind of moments. It's like got you say, oh,
The
you got some great spectacles.
Right.
That's not all I want to see.
Minus one is a spectacle with human drama.
Yes.
Or a human drama rather with some spectacle. It's more character driven than it is monster driven.
And see,
I've always said you've got two types of directors. You've got directors who are storytellers and directors who are filmmakers. There's a difference.
Yes, that's good.
And that will always be the case with the
filmmaker wants to create spectacle and create a moment that'll shock you and make you go boom, oh my god, on the big screen. Storytellers can do all that at the same time as telling a great story. It's in addition to the story that you're actually telling on screen.
I love that, Kevin. That's
it's a very rare thing nowadays, and it's sad.
Like, look at -1. It had all the glitz and the glamour, the spectacle, but it had a great story. Then you see, go to, I know this is totally different. Then you can go to see, I don't know, Michael Bay's Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. That's all about special effects, big explosions, all of the bells and whistles. But the story's meh. But -1 is king.
It's like, yes. See, it's all about, you can have the spectacle, and even, yes, Mr. Professor said it. Well put. Very much so. Yes. But since we're narrowing it down to the final three here, I'm going to change it up a little bit. I'm going to go in reverse. And I'm going to start with Anthony for your number 3. And we'll work our way backwards.
My number 3 is Godzilla -1.
Okay.
It's just such an amazing soundtrack, and I'm also putting it here for reasons. My number 2 is not only was the original music great, and it just accentuated the emotion at the core of this story, but just sitting in the theater and hearing these iconic themes with the movie theater surround sound. It was just such an amazing moment to get to hear that music in that quality in a theater, to see a Toho Godzilla movie, which I never thought I would get the chance to see because my theater never gets the cool stuff like this. I was jealous of these two because they were going to see it, and I had to go pay my bills that morning, and I saw they got it so last moment. They literally just, for the marquee, the poster frame they had outside in the theater, it was literally just a piece of paper that said Godzilla -1 on it. So I got back paying the bills, and I told my mom, I said, when we get back from grocery shopping today, you're going to the movies, and I'm not taking no for an answer. And
you had to lasso out of the house and say, come on, Mom, let's go see a movie here,
Just this music, the mix of the classic, the new music, and everything just worked for what was on screen. The soundtrack is every bit as beautiful as the movie, and the movie is easily one of the best movies of its decade.
Well, Kevin, what's your number 3, sir?
Mine is Godzilla vs. Destroyer.
All right.
Just everything about that theme, knowing it was the last that, to our knowledge, we were going to see Godzilla on the big screen. From when he first arrives and he's all, he's all burnt up. He looks like he's in absolute agonizing pain, but he also looks fierce and vicious, and he's ready to go. Introduction of Godzilla Jr., who, has his own really soft theme. The torturous part of that movie where she doesn't want to, but I forgot the name of the character who's the psychic. She doesn't want to, but in the end she has to give it, and she lures Godzilla Jr. to the city to take on, Destroyer, and he basically just gets totally wrecked. And then when Godzilla arrives and sees his wasted dead body, it's just such an emotional roller coaster of a film. And just like what you said right at the end, when Requiem hits and you slowly see him melting down, and it's just, if you don't cry at that, especially if you've followed the career and the storytelling from the Showa era up to that point, if you aren't emotionally invested in Godzilla by now, you never will.
Yeah, it's heartbreaking, absolutely heartbreaking.
But then, like you say, just as your heart breaks, there's hope, because then his as he passes, his energy in his life force, or whatever you want to call it, passes over to Godzilla Jr., which basically in seconds evolves him into a brand new, fully grown adult Godzilla.
Yeah, and saves Tokyo in the process. Yeah, that's the Nagare, the flow of life. That's a Shinto concept, and we see that the death and rebirth revisited in tons of different movies. Mothra, the Gargantuas, Rodan.
Yes, but you know what? And I always want I always go back to this, because some people say that's just saying, okay, we're just seeing a tradition of Godzilla and just the last roar, him coming out of this. But I've always felt that was what happens in that film. That the sun it's almost that Superman Donner of Superman motif. The father, the son becomes the father, and then the father becomes the son, kind of thing. Because the father dies, but the son inherits what the father was. And I feel like that's always a beautiful thing. And that moment
we see that earlier too, with like in Mechagodzilla 2, that when Fire Rodan kind of gives his essence to Godzilla, very much like Mothra would have do also with the, there's a lot of that giving that essence, and so Fire Rodan becomes part of Godzilla because Godzilla's breath changes at that moment. So it's very much inheriting those characteristics is part of that. Yeah,
death and life are really two sides of the same coin.
That's true. Yes.
Well, it even happened in Godzilla King of the Monsters 2019. Mothra sacrifices herself and gets blown to pieces by King Ghidorah, but just as she gets evaporated, you kind of see that dust sprinkle across Godzilla's body, but that's also kind of giving him time, and it's like basically a delay for him to supercharge up so he can then turn into his version of burning Godzilla to finish off King Ghidorah.
And also Zerazawa's sacrifice.
Yes,
which is a sad moment, I have to say.
And Jedi, Mothra's doing the whole Obi-Wan Kenobi sacrifice. He becomes one with the Force. Run, Luke, run.
That's kind of, you know what? I never thought of it that way. That's a perfect example. Yes, that's a perfect analogy. Yes.
Mothra's in the Force. offending two mega franchises in one statement.
Okay, well, Mark, what is your number three, as far as you can tell? Because like I say, we got two more, and I know.
Yes. Right. This is number 1965, Monster Zero.
Okay.
This is one of the, I think, quintessential Showa. I absolutely love the set. The set is one of my favorites of all time. That's that fight on Monster or Planet X set is just gorgeous.
Yeah.
But the main title, and then you hear the Monster Zero title, the three great monsters on Planet X, the Monster War March. We get these fantastic march in this, and then the SY3 music. There's just so much to like about this that goes with the comedy and the intensity of this movie. There's some definite humor in this.
Godzilla Space Dance, for example.
Yes.
Right, exactly.
Always. And here's a question before I get to mine. When you first saw Monster Zero or Invasion of Astro Monster, did you see it? Did you see the American cut? I'm assuming you saw that first.
Oh, yeah. I agree with that.
Okay, would you have to admit the part where you hear that like when it plays, that seems more, not to say that the Japanese opening for it is effective, but it seems like that's more effective here because it's letting you know it's like what's the foreboding thing going on? What's going on? Because we know it's dealing with aliens and everything, but what exactly is their initiative here? What's their agenda? You know, it's like it seems like it works better. Whoever did the cut in terms of American cut, I think they had an idea. It's like, we're going to use this particular cue for this because we feel like this is more effective for the
It very well
narrative.
could be. Yeah. It's been a long time since I've seen the Japanese cut. So I mean, some of these movies, I just love watching the way I remember watching them as a kid. And that's how I always kind of want to experience them. I like watching the original language. I do. But when I want to just kick back and relax, I'm just watching the cut I've watched since I was like 6. So
nothing wrong with that.
No, it's all good. It's all good.
And Mr. Miller saying here, there's a well, see, that's what I'm saying. You know, I mean, I think for anyone who watches it, that's true. You know, I mean, because it could have been that Junior dies, you know, but but that's just, as I say, anyone's opinion, point of view is.
Yeah, and a lot of people's fan theories have also thought it's never been officially announced or confirmed by Toho, but as you know, the last few years during Godzilla Celebration as Godzilla Day in November in Japan, that had done a couple of those CGI animated shorts. Yes. So they had Godzilla versus Gigan Rex, they had Godzilla versus Megalon, and right at the beginning of Godzilla versus Gigan Rex, to play some of the music from Godzilla versus Destroyer, and there's a narration and words in Japanese appear on the screen, and it's the actress who plays the psychic in Godzilla versus Destroyer who actually says the words, and it's about, I'm sure it's in Japanese, it's something about rebirth. And then the next thing you know, Gigan Rex attacks, and so a lot of people are assuming that short is a continuation of the Heisei era, and that the Godzilla featured in the short is an adult version or a rebirth Godzilla Jr. So technically, if that is ever confirmed by Toho, Gigan Rex is technically the Heisei era Gigan.
Wow, okay. That's pretty cool then. Huh. Well, my number 3, we mentioned it before, but it's King Kong versus Godzilla, 1962. This one, now, like I'm pretty sure, like you, Mark, you grew up listening to of course, the international cut, which is,
right,
you know, with, of course, the good old Creature from the Black Lagoon music.
I don't care about your corns.
Yes, he's like, he's like, what hurts? It's like the corns.
Yeah,
such a brilliant moment. But when I actually got to see this film, you know, when I saw it, you know, back in 1980, you know, it was amazing because I had drew many little things, you know, kind of comic sketch of Kong and Godzilla fighting, but Kong was in his original 33 version fighting this 150-foot tall creature, you know. It was just
you still have those pictures, Jedi? Tell me.
I don't know what happened to them. Somewhere they got lost in. I had them in a box, and my late mother threw the box that was in away, and I was like, "Thank you, Mom. You threw away something that was part of my childhood." You know,
sorry, man.
But hey, it's here. It's water under the bridge, so I pass it on. So, but anyway, getting back to this movie here, you know, for the longest time I would listen to the music that's in this movie from the 63 version, you know. So I was like, okay, you know, whatever. But I would never have known what the music for that Akiba Bay actually made for this film was so effective. And the thing about it is, later on in life, which was in my late 30s, I would start hearing, you know, when I started ordering old movies, you know, old Showa movies like Artragon, you know, Battle in Outer Space, all these other films, you know, I would listen. This is just me, you know. I like to look at the trailers of the films that I'm going to watch, you know, and I just look at them, you know. It's pretty cool. But the one music that comes up every time I hear it in the trailer would be this music, which I've come to find out was from King of Godzilla, the original soundtrack, which is the transportation of Kong. And I was kind of like, because it's always, I always loved that, I always liked the sound of that theme. I always liked the cue. And I thought it was from Battle in Outer Space because it seemed like it would fit that particular movie pretty well. But it turns out it's from King Kong from Godzilla. So when I got the soundtrack to this and I was already listening to the cues on here, I was kind of like, wow, these sound familiar. But at the same time, they sound very, involving, and remember, King Kong versus Godzilla is more of a Salaman's comedy. We already know that's more comedic than anything else. So when we get to the part where they transport Kong, I hear that cue, and I was like, oh my God, this is where it's from. I've been looking for it. I've been trying to find where this cue is from for the longest time. And when I found out it was from the Japanese cut of King Kong versus Godzilla, I'm like, oh my God. It's like, you think you go through your whole life, thinking like you're going to see something or never see something at all. When you finally find that so-called diamond in the rough, that pot of gold, that's what that was for me when I heard it in this film, in the Japanese cut. I was like, wow. I mean, to think that I would finally hear it, but never in my wildest dreams that I figured I would actually hear it, and then, and then, like I say, the theme for this movie is so brilliant. I mean, I love the cues, like the cue for when Godzilla attacks the submarine, or when which one it is? It's on here. Godzilla's reincarnation, resurrection. That's what it is, or some other ones. But when I started hearing these cues, I was like, God Lord! I mean, how is that they took this music out for the American cut? I mean, it's like these things would have worked perfectly, but
and you mentioned that, like the way they use the Creature from the Black Lagoon music. It's not that I have a problem with that music. I love the Universal monsters. I love Creature from the Black Lagoon, but to me, that didn't even work when they played it for a Universal monster that wasn't the Creature of the Black Lagoon. Right. So when you're playing it for Godzilla and Kong, it just feels even more out of place.
And and it's something that you mentioned, since it was a Universal, because it was released here in America through Universal, I guess that's why they was using the stock music from that film into that film. And I was like, okay, it's fine, but is it fitting the narrative of what we're watching? And I feel like they kind of missed the boat on that one. I just feel like they missed it on many occurrences with that. But at the same time, I'm just glad that eventually I did get to find the soundtrack and hear the actual music from it. And it's just one of my favorite of Akira Kuve's scores. And thankfully it has stood the test of time. And I'm just glad that I got to discover it firsthand through his originality, so. But we're getting that. Oh my God, we're neck and neck with these two now. We just got two more, and it's going to be kind of interesting how we're going to play this out. So, Anthony, I'm going to go back to you. Start with you. What's your number 2 in Godzilla score?
Hold on a second.
You say you lost? You want me to go to?
Lucy's, hang on a sec.
Okay.
Yes, I'm having to do some running back and forth. I got dinner going too.
Oh, okay. All right.
Number 2, Godzilla, King of the Monsters.
All right.
I remember the hype for this film when they showed the first teaser trailer. Then, like later that day or day or two later, they announced that Akira Ikefube music is going to be used in the movie, and it just, like, my jaw just hit the ground with anticipation. I'm finally going to hear this music in a theater with all that great surround sound and Godzilla on the big screen. And I sat through the movie in the music. Like, we have the Memories of San Francisco, which greatly sets up the film with just this haunted past.
Yeah.
So standouts, and probably one of the best examples is, well, of course, the old rivals when Godzilla and King Ghidorah first meet. Like, that music, you can just feel the history between those two. Mm-hmm. The theme, Goodbye Old Friend, which is just not just a beautiful piece of music, but how thematically beautiful it is when Serizawa sacrifices itself, because Godzilla has always been a metaphor for the atomic age in some way, shape, or form. And there's always those two edges to it, that it can cause mass destruction, but it also has the capability to do good. Like, you can't produce energy as efficient as nuclear energy, and to have a character who carries this pocket watch that stopped at the moment of the Hiroshima bombs, that scene and that music, it's almost reconciling those two ends of the capability of nuclear power, that it can be used for great atrocities or great good. And here Serizawa is sacrificing himself using a weapon of mass destruction to end
Yeah.
destruction, and it's just thematically beautiful. The music by itself is awesome.
Yeah.
And the Battle for Boston theme, can't say enough about that, how it incorporates each monster's theme. And then just the end credits, the fact that each monster's theme got its time to shine in the end credits. The movie and this soundtrack by itself, they're both just love letters to lifetime Godzilla fans. So it's easily
Yeah.
my
Yeah, I've always said when it comes to King of the Monsters, it was a film made for fans
Yes.
by a fan. Michael Dougherty, who directed King of the Monsters, grew up loving Godzilla. When he got the gig to direct it, he said, I'm making this for fans. And I don't know if that's one of the reasons why it didn't do as well at the box office as the hope, because he made it with a certain audience in mind. But even though it might have not have done well at the box, apparently the physical media sales went through the roof. Apparently it's constantly on like charts around the world for views. Like it's like Netflix in the UK. It was on there for a while, then they've took it off, and then they've literally just put it back on Netflix, and it's number 4 in the movie charts on Netflix, because I think it's going to be one of those films that, you know, it kind of, I know it wasn't technically a flop, but if you remember many years ago, for example, you had the likes of, say, Hocus Pocus. Hocus Pocus did really bad at the box office, but on terrestrial television or in cable, it just skyrocketed. It kept on getting played weeks before Halloween, weeks after Halloween. It built kind of like a cult following, and I generally feel that is the road that King of the Monsters 2019 is gonna go down, because even though 2014 for me is still technically my favorite because of the story, I just absolutely adore 2019 King of the Monsters because of the fact of it's just basically a true Godzilla fan's dream come to life.
It is.
Also, like 9 times out of 10, when you hear the movies for the fans and by the fans, it's just complete nonsense. This is a rare occasion where it's the actual truth.
Yeah, and one other thing I'll say before I go on to my number, is it number 2 we're on?
Number 2.
The one thing I loved about King of the Monsters 2019 is they didn't stay too far away from the designs of the creatures. Like King Ghidorah, you knew it was King Ghidorah.
Right.
Rodan looked like Rodan. Godzilla, obviously, the only difference from 2014 is that the back spines were altered. They look more menacing. And of course, the most altered one, but still kind of had the essence and look of Mothra, was Mothra. So he did a really brilliant job. And without the success of the Monsterverse, we wouldn't have went to what is my number 2, which has been mentioned a number of times, which is Godzilla Minus One.
Okay.
Now, Godzilla Minus One for me is just one of the best Godzilla films, or is not the best Godzilla film in a lot of people's minds. So Naoki Sato, who did the soundtrack, I hope I said his name right.
I think
He literally just did something very unique and different. Like you say, he did similar to like what Bear McCreary did. He took classic Godzilla themes and didn't alter them too much when he showcased them throughout -1, and that's out of respect to, you know, the original composer way back from 1954. But then he also did something unique. He added these emotional scores that went not alongside Godzilla, but the human cast and the human characters. Those scores were to tell you the emotional turmoil that these characters were going through. Like, you know, like a kamikaze pilot who's now, he didn't do what he was expected to do. He's got like survival guilt.
Yes.
And he's going through all this emotion. And then you've got, you know, Hiroko, his partner, who, you know, her sister dies during the war, and now she has to adopt the daughter, and then she's basically trying to find a place to stay, and you've got all of that. But for me, the most impactful score is after Godzilla goes to Geyser, and he releases his atomic breath, and it looks like obviously an H-bomb's hit.
Yes.
And, you know, the city's been destroyed, and then you've got he standing there with grief in his eyes, and he turns around and he just sees Godzilla standing there surveying the destruction that he's caused. And there's like that epic score, and there's that thing where he just stands forward and he looks up at the mushroom cloud, and he just roars into the open sky. And he's standing there with anger in his eyes. Now he's got purpose again. He wants revenge in many ways. And he's standing looking at him in the eyes, screaming and roaring in grief. In the music, with I think what's called Elgy, it's called, I've got to check it. It was ELEGY. Elegy. And that's Elegy, which is just after, you know, the music that hit before he released the atomic bomb, the build up where the tail's spiking up. Just all out a brilliant score. More for me about the emotional side of the human character story, with basically this is a human character story with Godzilla added as a bonus.
See, and that's brilliant. And let me give Mr. Professor here his what he's saying. It's a good example of how crucial a fan base for a movie for King of the Monsters was. Because I can tell you this little anecdote about King of the Monsters, that I wasn't there. I wasn't there when it was done, but when they showed King of the Monsters at the Pickwick, you know, someone was recording, but everyone in that theater, when the music came on, they would stop singing or humming the music at the tail end of the credits and everything. And there's a video of this and everything. And I'm just like, that shows right there. That's who it's meant for, that fan base. And it just shows that, you know, you wish more people could invest or experience what, as we as lovers of kaiju movies or just movies in general, get that same effect, you know. I mean, but some things are not for everybody, but you wish they could experience that joy, that love we have for these kind of things, you know. And it's because when you see them doing that, when you see them humming the music, you see them, you know, just, you know, excited, like that's what it's for. That's who it's for, the people who are so invested in these kind of
like the Mothra theme in King of the Monsters, the scene with her in the waterfall, and that theme, that like scene is such a beautiful piece of cinematography. It brought tears to my eye.
Mm-hmm.
I think it brought some tears to some other people's eyes, because they, you know, they see this like, wow, that's, you know, it's like, because you hear the theme and then you realize like the actress is playing that scene, that part in right there, you realize that's a nod to the twins, you know, because you see one here that's exactly the same as the one that's on the plane, you know. It's like, there you go, and you hear that.
And don't forget that also when she's on the she's on the jet. She has a photo of her family, and they're all
Yes.
twins. They're all
Oh,
female twins. So it's basically hinting at the Peanuts, the the cosmos and all that. Also, for though you probably already know this, but apparently Michael Dougherty has like an extra half an hour of footage that he hadn't edited together that's locked away somewhere.
really?
And apparently it was released. There were leaks of a post-credit scene of King of the Monsters where the two scientists meet up in a Japanese restaurant somewhere, and they go to the back and they go down the flight of stairs into the kitchen. And when they get to the bottom of like these long staircase, it opens up to a giant underground temple, and there's another Mothra egg sitting at the end of the temple with two little girls singing the Mothra theme to the egg.
Actually, I didn't know about that.
But they just didn't have the budget. They didn't film it because they didn't. They were running. You had to cut it, but the storyboards are available online.
I like that in concept, but if I'm being honest, I just don't feel it like would have gone hand in hand with the movie they were telling.
I mean, because that's where you have to do the 0 hour kind of thing with some films. Like, is it fitting, or is it helping the narrative, the story that you're watching? You know, what I mean, and I know this because I know I mentioned this before with Dick Donner's Superman. There's like tons of footage for this film, but the final result of it is only 2.5 hours long. You know, and from what I've heard, there's like literally a 5-hour cut of the film. Like,
also, if you're like a filmmaker and you're making a film of something you're a big fan of that you're really passionate about, you do have to have a certain disconnect between the fan and the filmmaker, and just understand that, yeah, this may be something I would love to see as a fan, but as a filmmaker and as a storyteller, does this serve the purpose of the movie I'm making?
Yes. And that's go, and like I say, that's just going along with the music, as he's like, you got to make sure that it's fitting with what you're telling. And I mean, if it doesn't fit the narrative, you know, it's not going to work. So, but Mr. Justice, give us your number 2, sir.
Number 2, it's no number 2, not because of it's not important, but if we're going with what we like, there's one I like better. The original Gojira. You cannot have anything else without this movie, you know?
Right.
The main title continues to be one that 70 years later, it's still what we know as Godzilla. I love the Odo Island Temple Festival because we are hearing something of folk music. We are hearing something that shows us this culture. And then when Godzilla comes ashore again, and especially Godzilla's rampage, horrifying. And it's stark. It's a lot of that piano, just that kind of repeating open piano. It's very simple, kind of a Spartan score, considering a lot of the other ones get more complicated. And then the haunting Godzilla at the ocean floor. Godzilla with the oxygen destroyer, being placed. That whole scene is very emotional because of the music and Saragawa's sacrifice. So yeah, I think we would not have anything without Gojira.
That's true. Yes, I mean that's something I'll bring up when I do my 10 iconic moments of Godzilla, later this week. But we won't get into that right now. But yes, that's definitely something that you got to have. You got to deal with the godfather of the movies that started it all to really get you invested with all these things that we see now. So, but for my number 10, number 2, we already did 10.
Try to keep up, Walter.
Yeah, I know. That's what I'm saying. It's like, okay, Walter, get it together. It's from Godzilla versus Mechagodzilla, and it's kind of funny because I would think that the thing that Miss Oshima had done with Godzilla against Mechagodzilla would be more higher, but I hadn't seen Mechagodzilla yet until I saw against Mechagodzilla. I saw that one first, and I got invested with her music. But once I saw Godzilla versus Mechagodzilla, that was her first outing doing a score for soundtrack for a Godzilla film. I kind of like the tonal effect of this film more than, and I'm not saying that I don't get emotion. I mean, what Godzilla, with that film that she did before, it had emotion to it. But with this one, it really made me realize this is probably why they hired this woman, because it has so many cues in there where, you have this sense of loss, but at the sense of dread, you have the sense of mystique that's going on because you don't know why certain things are happening. And really, I would tell you right now, this is one of those few Godzilla films that actually does the J horror motif pretty well in certain scenes. Like there's one scene where this couple, they're in this, alley, and one of those Megagira babies, pretty much attacks the guy, and it's and the theme and the music that she does here, it's like, oh yes, you're about to get taken out, brother. So, and it's just very effective, and like I say, the music throughout the film is so jarring that you just don't know what's going to come next, so that's my number 2. So number 1, gentlemen, are y'all ready for this? Are y'all ready to go around and just home? Okay. All right. I'm gonna go. I'm, like I say, switching it up again. Mr. Justice, give me your number 1, sir. And
my number 1 favorite all-time Godzilla soundtrack is from Destroy All Monsters. This has the most memorable main title. We got that kind of a march feel. The title credits, rather. I just absolutely love the theme of this song. Rodan Attacks is it's powerful. It's short, but it's powerful. The giant attack on Tokyo is wonderful, and I love the battle to repel the monsters. Again, just beautiful. I love the marches. Remote control destruction is really nervous and frantic as they're trying to use that laser, to burn and get through when they're on.
Yes, it almost sounds like what you call a industrial kind of sound. I mean, it's like dun 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 dun. I'm like, yes,
right. It's driving. It's really nervous. It's frantic. Yeah. But when I think about my favorite score and what I love about Ifukube and I love the marches. I just love it. But this one is the perfect score for me.
Okay. That's okay. That's what I'm talking about. See, and I wish I could say that was on mine, but hey, that's why I say I want you to tell me what's your favorite and move on. That's great. And like I say, explain exactly why it is.
Yeah.
Kevin, what is your number 1, sir?
Well, you can't have a franchise without the original. So just like Mark Justice, which was his number 2, it's my number 1. It obviously has to be Godzilla 1954. It's just such an emotional movie. It's such an emotional score. I think back in 1953, Akira Ifube, he scored a film called Hiroshima.
Okay.
And this particular song, which is so haunting, which is the Praise for Peace, was featured in that film. And so he then brought it back during Godzilla 1954. During the scene after the initial attack of Godzilla, and you've got the woman and the children, and they've got like all the bodies on the floor wrapped up in, in that haunting song with the singing. It's never left my mind. It's just so powerful. And like I say, I just love everything about Godzilla 1954. I told the story right at the beginning of the podcast of how when I was a little kid on a dark, stormy night on Channel 4 on terrestrial television, I'm sitting eating me supper before bed, which was a bowl of cornflakes, and I'm with me bowl and I'm boom, 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 boom. And all of a sudden I heard the screen went black and white, then there was the opening of the open water, then you just heard the roar. And then you heard the Godzilla theme start to play, din-din, din-din, and I was like, what the hell is this? Next thing I know, is I'm just transported to this dark place with this giant atomic monster that's ravaging a country, and you see in the aftermath of it all. And as even though I was a little kid, I knew this was heavy. I knew it was impactful, even though I didn't actually understand it at the time. I knew this was impactful. I knew this was important. The story that was being told without even recognizing it. And then, of course, as the film progresses, like Mark said, you've got the scenes where Dr. Sarazawa's introduced, and you have kind of another emotional human story with this love triangle mixed in. And then, of course, he goes underwater and with the oxygen destroyer and sacrifices himself. And of course, right at the end where Godzilla lifts himself out the water and does one more painful roar before he sinks beneath the waves and disappears. And it's just such an impactful movie. And even though, like I say, I was a young child when I seen it, I still remember it to this day. And it's never gonna, that film, like you mentioned, it's never gonna leave me till the day I die, and the music along with it.
And I just want to just add on. It's funny knowing that you see something as a child, and you mentioned before, you're a child. You might not read, but it resonates you knowing that it's something important about this. It's important about what you're watching. It's something that's really letting you know that it's going to resonate with you, even like I say, to your like 80 or 90. And it's like it's that like effective, and I think that's the point of it. Because that moment when you see Godzilla going through the city, you see that moment where the mother has her two kids. It's like, we'll be with father soon and everything. It's like that sticks with you, knowing that you hear music a little bit through the film, but it's like at the same time you're seeing what the devastation of this creature is doing and what the real impact of it is.
I also seen Hellraiser as a kid, and that definitely impacted me. I nearly slept for nearly 3 months. But
well, I wouldn't think someone would. That movie is not exactly for the faint of heart. Yes, yes, it was. See, telling that story there on the island. But all that is, like I say, and but all that is exactly what it's supposed to do. It's supposed to leave an impact on the viewer, and whether you're a kid, whether you're a teenager, whether you're a full adult, that's what it's supposed to do. It's what it's supposed to give to the viewer. But number one for you, Anthony. What is number one for you, sir?
This was the easiest one to rank. Godzilla versus Destroyer. Akira Ikefube even had said something to the extent of that this and the original were the two most satisfying films he worked on, and he said he found it very fitting that not only did he have a hand in the monster's birth, but that he had a hand in the monster's death. And just the themes are just so amazing for this film. From the opening scene in the version of the Godzilla March we see burning Godzilla, we see it's Godzilla, but there's something different about him. And that plays through in this version of the Godzilla March, where it's the Godzilla March, but they add a few brassy instruments to it that, yeah, it's Godzilla's theme, but something's different. Something ain't right here. And it works for this version of Burning Godzilla. Some of the more somber music throughout the movie, the music mentioned for Emika, which is a beautiful piece, and the reason I had to put this at number one is for the Requiem theme. That is such a beautifully tragic and haunting piece of music, and it just increases the emotional impact of what we're seeing on screen as we watch this unstoppable force die helplessly to something beyond his control, and the military is just desperately trying to do everything they can to contain as much of the meltdown as they can, because this could destroy the world. So it's still got high stakes, but it's just beautiful and haunting. And it was just not only a great way to close out the Heisei series, but it was just a great send off for a legendary career for Akira Ikefube.
Yeah, I mean, let's be honest. I mean, this was, I can really say this was Akira Fube's swan song in terms of what he did in music, you know. And like I say, you never forget it. I mean, it's always going to stick with you, and there's no way you can forget it. Because let's be honest. I mean, if you go into that film and watch it and feel like you're not going to feel some lasting effect about it, it's like, okay, well then you didn't get that. You didn't get the whole effect of what the movie was doing. You know, it's the death of Godzilla, but at the same time, it's the farewell to a creature that we've all come to know and love, or even hate. You know, depending on your point of view. You know, you can love to hate them, or depending on that. But the end result is this is a creature that deserves a fond farewell with that. So, but my number one, and I like I said, we kind of mentioned before, but this to me is truly the most just brilliant. I mean, I'm not saying that the other ones are, because believe it or not, the other ones were a little hard to say.
Let us guess, 1998.
Final Wars?
No, 98. That's the American Godzilla.
No. You know, the group chat we're in, Walter can't stop bragging about this one.
I can't like that. I would look and say I would rather run naked through glass than talk about that film. Let's put it that way. All right. It's just I can't, it's atrocious. It's that atrocious. But thankfully a film like this kind of gives me hope, knowing that hey, at least things aren't so bad. And that is 1984, The Return of Godzilla. The soundtrack for that film, I'm gonna tell you right now, I saw this film, I saw it as Godzilla in 1985. And so thankfully, most of that score in that film stayed, and it still is, yes, Jake, it is exactly. It still sticks with me to this day, even though there's some cues from another film that's implanted in there. But when you really listen to the music, it gives off such an enriching and infecting motifs of things that you know that things are going to get bad. And one of my favorite of the cues, well, hell, a lot of the cues in this film are memorable. Like when we see the Super X, you know, coming towards the battle, you hear that tremendous, you know, marching theme, you know, coming into play that plays on that. But the one that really gets me is when the American submarine, I think it was American, or no, was it Soviet submarine gets attacked by Godzilla. We hear this little kind of, how can I say, theme that's going on where it's almost like
it's terrifying.
It's very terrifying. It's like you. And the funny thing is, it's almost doing a kind of Jaws kind of motif in a sense, because you know Godzilla's there, but you don't see him. You just know his presence is there. His presence is enough to know that the music is getting you ready for that. These guys are about to bite it. They're about to get it in the end. And like I say, the music throughout this film is just like, you know, loving kind of things, love themes, you know, very adventurous themes, very foreboding, very adventurous. The end result is I would never have thought that this would be so effective on me, even though I saw this the American cut in the theater. It let me know that, and that's the funny thing about this. The movie, when I saw it in the American cut, it was kind of iffy. But once I saw the Japanese cut of it, it made more sense, and I enjoyed it more. And I realized, like, okay, this is just what happens when America gets something from overseas, and they just butchered it to death, and they don't realize that they're destroying something that was necessary. Now, sometimes they can do a good job with it, but here I think they did a kind of sloppy job, because, like I say, they kept the music, but the storyline, when they imprinted, you know, Raymond Burr and some other characters, like when Homeboy says, you know, what's up? Don't worry, Mr. Martin. Wonder Lizard is down. It's stuff like that. I mean, it's comedic effect. I mean, I don't mind that, but I feel like you're making it too Americanized.
Yeah.
It's
Well, they
losing
cut
the
it to a
flavor.
length so they can fit in X number of showings in a day in a theater.
That too,
Right.
but in the end, though, the film is a eclectic amount of emotions and the feelings, and I feel like, and the funny thing is about this film, it has no when I say it has original, I'm saying it has no of the Kung Fu based Godzilla theme in this.
Even though
This
the Godzilla March was in the trailer.
Well, it was in the trailer, yes, it was that, but this was the first time I think you hear original music playing throughout the film that doesn't have anything resonating from the original scores from past.
To me, this is really, it's one of the definitive 80s instrumental soundtracks.
Yes. And then and the funny thing is when you hear the Japanese cut, when you watch it, the last bit of song at the end, goodbye, how you say, did it say sayonara, or I'm remembering
Goodbye, Godzilla.
Goodbye Godzilla. I gotta say that's a very haunting song.
It sounds so amazing on vinyl.
Oh my god! I mean, it's such a beautiful song. I mean, it may seem kind of corny to some, but to me, I feel it's beautifully done for this. And it's almost like you say we're not going to see Godzilla again, but let's be honest, a true star never dies, and
Can't keep him down.
You can't keep him down.
Right.
He'll never he stopped. So.
Would it be all right if I just mention a couple of things that they're outside of the list? They're just kind of like in addition, but I think
sure.
We had talked about Hedorah. The two tracks I love are the Save the Earth or Give Back the Sun, and then the Give Back the Sun 2, which is all music, and that guitar riff is just so heavy. I love the psychedelic nature of the music, but I don't like the music. It's an ugly soundtrack to me. The music is indicative of the imagery, so it feels ugly and plotting at times, but I do like those tracks. But the only other movie I want to bring up, and it's not a Godzilla film, but it's Toho, because I think it has one of the best soundtracks of all, War of the Gargantuas.
Yes.
Which is just a powerhouse with the main title, the Terror of the Stormy Seas, and then the emergency at Haneda Airport, which is just horrifying. The most horrifying single imagery of Gyra coming onto the tarmac and then eating. Just the words get stuck in my throat. I mean,
yes,
it's just fantastic. But then you get the big march with the mazers and the it's wonderful. And then the Sanda and Gyra, that oboe. That final fight, it kind of reminds me of the Universal, like Son of Frankenstein. You have that kind of oboe being strong in those scores, the later Frankenstein movies. And I was thinking, because it is Frankenstein, these monsters were referred to as Frankenstein. I'm wondering if a Pukube brought in the oboe as some homage to Universal, but I don't know.
Well, you never know. I mean, with that might have been an idea, and we can say we know it's kind of a direct sequel to Frankenstein versus Paragon of Frankenstein Across the World, but it depends on the viewer. I mean, they can make that assumption or not. And I will say this, speaking of songs, and I'm surprised I didn't include it, but it's at the same time I realized there's a reason why I didn't include it, because it's more for children in terms, and I'm trying to stick more with the seriousness of the scores, which is a song from my favorite Godzilla versus Megalon, Godzilla Jet Jaguar song, Jet Jaga, Yacht Jada Jaga, and then when they say punch, 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 I mean, that's something that I feel like always sticks with me, even though I didn't understand what is being said. I understood enough that I liked it. I liked that it's one of those songs that is very memorable when it comes to the Godzilla films that I've seen in the past, and let's say oh really?
Nice.
I didn't know that. Huh.
And
But
War of the Gargantuas is Brad Pitt's favorite movie. So there you go.
And I think it is, if I'm not mistaken, I think that's Quentin Tarantino's favorite.
Very well could be.
Yeah. So it's that shows right there how these films have, or even score wise, has an effective narrative to some people, certain artists, and whatnot. We can't say these things are all junk, because if that was junk, why would they be referencing them in films? Huh? Why would they be referencing them in other films? I mean, it's not like you could just watch them and think like, oh, it's just a throwaway. Well, if you're throwing them away, why are you bringing them up? You know, you're bringing them up in other films.
Well, the people who are doing those things are people like us who grew up watching those, and now they're at the age where they can make those decisions and they're in the places where they're in and doing creatively stuff. So I think they're just throwing homages to the things that drove them to doing what they want to do. And if you're working on Scooby-Doo, it must mean you like mystery and monsters. And of course, monsters are and fun. It's the same thing that makes me like Scooby-Doo is what I like Godzilla, or why I like monsters in general. Yeah. So I think it appeals
to Jurassic Park. Jurassic Park.
Yeah.
You got a lot of people who love like the Jurassic Park stuff that would probably the Godzilla stuff would appeal to them.
Right. So
yeah, they like the more realistic.
That's the more realistic, but it's at the same
quote
time.
Unquote. Right.
Yeah.
It's very similar entertainment for me. It's like Jaws. It's a monster movie, So
yeah, it really is. We think about it. Even though you don't see the creature itself, for
it's there. The barrels, man, so smart. Yeah. No, they're all fun, and this has been a really wonderful discussion, Jedi Grand Velle. Thank you.
That's the thing. Well, see, that's the whole. I wanted to make this happen because I feel like this is something that I think is sometimes overlooked by some people, because you got to remember the Godzilla fandom, community. We talk about figures, we talk about art, we talk about the people who play the monsters in the suits. We talk about all these things, but do we rarely talk about the music or anything that makes us gravitate to the films in the first place and why they're so memorable to us? But I think we tend to forget that because sometimes you can't leave. You put it like this. You can't have one without the other. It's the
music helps drive the emotion.
Yes.
When I hear those horns, like in War of the Gargantuas we were talking about, but there's that horns that kind of, it's almost like it's being overblown. It's like exaggerating. It's like distorting. And it kind of shows the monstrousness of what's going on. The big brass sound. So the music is every bit as integral as the emotion of underscoring the emotion. So my emotional response to, if there was no Requiem at the end of Destroya, I mean, I would still be sad, but if it was just special effects, sound effects, it would not have been the impact. But it's hearing that mournful aria. It's like, oh my God, that's part of the emotional experience. So music is an integral part. It's essential to film and movies because it helps to convey the emotion every bit as much as what you see on the screen.
Well, there's stories of screenings of the original Halloween where it wasn't people covering their eyes. It was in response to the music driving it, people covering their ears.
Oh, covering it because the music wasn't that great, or just
the music, it amplified what was on screen.
Oh, okay. And they didn't want to. Okay, that makes sense. And here's the thing. Now, and here's a little side note about when it comes to music. When George Lucas was making his last Star Wars film, this is the kind of interesting thing about this. He was discussing this with one of the editors and everything, and he said, "Would you want this to be here? Would you want this to be here?" And George Lucas said something that I can never forget because it makes sense if you think about it. He says, "You're not watching the swordplay. You're not watching the special effects. You're not looking at all these other amazing things. You're listening to the music." Because the thing about it, if you watch Star Wars, most of the movies are basically musical motifs. You're hearing John Williams score through most of that, the things that are going on. And if you think about it, you really are listening to the music. Like during the Death Star battle in Return of the Jedi, You know, you're looking through all that, you know, seeing things, or even looking at the Death Star battle in the original Star Wars. You know, yeah, you hearing all these different, you know, explosions and everything, but what's really standing out is most as you're looking at it. That's the music you're hearing, the sound of what the music is portraying and giving the feels. Because, like I say, when you hear the moment where Skywalker, Luke is about to shoot, you know, the fire at the where the point is, I mean, where the photon torpedo is supposed to be fired at. He's the music kind of shifts up, and you hear this voice of Obi-Wan in his mind. You know, it's like it's adventures, and then all of a sudden it's like, use the Force, Luke, and the music kind of goes into this kind of like just ballet kind of, you know, sound. And it's like, wow, that's kind of that's very effective, you know, and then that lets you know that music is the kind of just I mean, just it's an amplification of what's being known to when you're watching something, you know, and it's something that I say time and time again should never be forgotten in terms of who's composing this, who's composing that. They are some of the true heroes, and I'm not saying that the visuals aren't effective, but if you don't have a beautiful soundtrack to back it up, something's gonna be lost. And I'm gonna give you another good example real quick before we get to the ending of this. When I saw Roadhouse, okay, the original Roadhouse, I would have thought it would be more countrified kind of film. I mean, westernized kind of, you know, music in there. But the composer Michael Kamen, the music that I was expecting was not what I thought I was going to get. And when you hear that music, what he was driving at, I was like, okay, that's a different kind of tone that I was expecting. It's like it's somewhat, you know, funny, but then it's going to get really serious at the end. It's like you say, yes, we're not playing games in this moment, you know, and that lets you know that let me know from then on that music is the thing. It's 50% of the experience when you watch something, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's something we should never forget when it comes to music. I mean, you have your visuals, but you got to have your audio too to come coincide with.
Yeah, well, it's like what I said before. There's two types of directors. You've got storytellers and filmmakers. A director who is a storyteller will find the music that also carousels alongside the stories telling on screen.
Mm-hmm.
And if he gets the score right, then it's a double win.
Yeah, and that's always the case. You don't know if it's going to work or not, because I know when we mentioned Jaws before, you know, Spielberg didn't like the score that you know, John Williams had produced, you know, with that little motif, dun dun dun, because he feel like that was way too simple. It's just like that's not going to grab him. But he kept listening to it, and finally realized, like, let's put it in. And sure enough, those are probably one of the most memorable notes in film history. So taking a gamble like that makes you realize, like, if the composer and the director know that, okay, we're going to do something that's going to affect the screen or what you're watching, that's the whole thing. Because it's got to be a trust thing when it comes to that. It has to be. Otherwise, it's not going to work, you know. But gentlemen, I thank you so much for this. I mean, this has been a hell of a lot of fun. I gotta say, I did not know what to expect from this, and that's one thing going into some of these podcasts. It's like you don't know the, you know, outcome of all this, you know. But before we really end this, go down the line here, Mr. Justice. Do you have anything particular? Well, I should say, do you have anything particular coming on as far as podcasting and whatnot in the future?
Well, we just wrapped up recording for this season of Heavy Metal Horror. We've got a few more wonderful episodes coming out, and we've got about 8 or 10 shows booked already for next year. We're going to have some return guests and great new themes. So we're doing well. Unsane Radio continues to plug along. We're getting ready to record episodes. We're going to talk about the brand new Superman movie. So, yeah. So unsaneradio.com and Heavy Metal Horror Podcast on YouTube and Unsane Radio.
Yeah, so check him out, because this man does amazing content. Trust me.
What's the name of your YouTube channels? again.
Heavy Metal Horror Podcast.
Right, I'll definitely like, share, and
Heavy
subscribe.
Metal Horror. Thank
Sure.
you. And then unsaneradio.com. That's Unsane Radio is another podcast, but it's all audio, and you have audio versions of Heavy Metal Horror as well.
Oh, you just got a new subscriber.
Fantastic. Thank you, gentlemen.
See, there you go. See, see, that's always effective.
Yeah, we've done about 150, 60 some shows on heavy metal horror,
Oh, wow.
and we've done about 330 or 20 some on Unsane Radio. Yeah.
And just out of curiosity, I mean, I know this is, like I say, jumping the gun, but I mean, how long have you been doing this now for the podcast?
Heavy metal horror, I think we started doing about 4 or 5 years ago, I believe. On Unsane Radio, I started. One of the earlier ones we did was when Shin Godzilla came out. So I've been doing that about 7 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. So at least you're passionate about it and you're still going strong with it.
Yeah, Unsane Radio is great because we talk about all kinds of things, popular and unpopular culture. We can do movies, TV shows, cereal, toys, comic books, music, and we've been doing more of these kinds of revisits to Godzilla in heavy metal horror. So I know you were part of that, Billy DeVos.
Yes.
And it's a lot of fun. I love both of the podcasts.
We've gained 3 new subscribers in 2 seconds.
See,
Thank you. Thank you so very much.
effective.
I hope you enjoy the content.
Yes.
No,
Jake Hall's also subscribed. Who's
Wonderful.
in the comments.
Wonderful. Thank you. Yeah. We've got episodes on Godzilla, and we talk about the Showa. Those are fun because Jedi Grand Velle is part of that. So yeah, those are fun discussions.
There's something like just magic about when you have a stream like this, and either one or multiple of the people involved have never all worked together, and it just clicks like it does here.
Yeah, that's very true. Yeah,
that's what I like.
Yeah.
I mean, because I want that. I want that energy, knowing that if I know someone, I'm thinking like these people might work together. Because it's kind of like with Kevin and Daniel Melia. I didn't know if they meet together, will they really gel well together? But as it turns out, they gel.
Or when on my channel, when you joined me with Lethal One for Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, I don't know why. I just figured you two would be good together on a stream, and it worked out perfectly.
It worked.
Yeah.
Yes, that's what I'm talking about.
I will go and find your pages as well, gentlemen, and I will subscribe.
Oh yeah.
Oh, thank you very much.
Well, speaking of which, Kevin, what you
mentioned
got
that
coming on your channel? I'm
sorry.
Go ahead, Ken. I'm sorry, Anthony.
Since you mentioned that, it just premiered, I think today or tomorrow, but I have my re-review of Return of Godzilla uploading. Set to premiere, so you got a new Godzilla review that's either up now or should be up tomorrow.
Okay, yeah, that's right, because you're doing that. That's on the 15th. But what's coming on your channel, Kevin?
Well, on the 17th, which is this Wednesday, coming at 10 p.m. UK time, 2 p.m. Pacific time, I'm going to be doing a retro classic movie show. That's one of my segments on the entertainment headquarters. And I'm going to be doing the Back to the Future trilogy. So we're going to be joined by Thrash Pondu Pond, Mr. Anthony Jordan, of course, my co-host, Mr. DG Anubis. Then we'll go to the 19th. I do another segment called Into the Darkness, which is all my horror content, where I will be joined once again by Anthony Jordan, DG Anubis, Mr. Tony the Dead, and we're going to be doing a double feature. We're going to be doing The Shining and Dr. Sleep.
Oh, all right.
Yes.
He's got
and
great
then yeah, and then on the 20th of December, which is at 10 p.m. UK time, 2 p.m. Pacific time, I'm going to be doing my 60th anniversary Gamera celebration stream.
Nice.
So these two gentlemen are on that one. You're more than welcome to join if it's something you'd like to be a part of.
Yeah, when would this be? Yeah, send me a link. If I'm free, I'll do it.
It's Saturday the 20th, and it's going to be 2 p.m. Pacific time. I don't know what time that is.
5 p.m. where I'm at. Okay.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, 5 p.m. Yeah.
And the final thing I'm doing just before Christmas, I'm going to see, because I've just seen it available, that new horror Christmas film that Anthony watched. What's it called again, Anthony? It's a remake. Silent Night, Deadly Night. Yes,
Okay.
I'm going to be going seeing that in theaters sometime next week, and I'll be putting a review up for that. And then on the 23rd of December, just before Christmas, I'm doing my next Christmas special, which is going to be a mixture of Scrooged with, of course, Bill Murray and Tim Burton's Edward Scissorhands.
That ending.
Which one, Scrooge or with Scissorhands?
That ending.
It's crazy. Well, Anthony, I know you mentioned already about your review on Godzilla tomorrow, but anything else particular you got coming up?
Tomorrow at 5, my Return of Godzilla-thon for the Return of Godzilla. Mm-hmm. In addition to that, the stuff Kevin mentioned, I'm going to be on his channel, and I had originally planned on doing this with someone else, but he's not able to make it. This past year, I did a Gundam Wing 30th anniversary retrospective, and since the movie Endless Waltz is primarily set on Christmas Eve, which makes it a Christmas movie, doing a review of that to conclude my retrospective, which I have on this phone right now. I need to upload it on the computer and just give it a few tweaks, then put it up.
Okay. Cool.
I love the passion here, guys. Thank you for this. I have had such a good time getting to know the two of you, and feeling your passion and your love. It's I can't help, my cheeks are just sore from smiling because I admire that so much. I appreciate that.
Which is why I'm glad that you got to meet them, because that's the whole point. Because I know you're passionate about these things, and they're very passionate about these.
No, it's great. It's great. It's why we love to do the podcasts that we do too. On Site Radio, because we just love it. We have a good time, and it's just sharing this kind of very, very niche passion is just wonderful. Yeah.
Wait till you go on Kevin's channel and check out the Into the Darkness, where we discuss horror movies.
Yes,
that sounds awesome.
Yeah, you see, when it was, I've only had my YouTube channel. This is the second year I've had a channel. So basically, I knew a group of other well-known content creators, that Fat Samurai guy, DJ Anubis of the Metal Tavern Radio, and I was always talking to them, and they invited us on a couple of channels, and they were always saying to me, "You need to start your own channel, Kevin. You need to just break through and do it." So we all met. Well, me, DJ Anubis, and Walt, I met at G-Fest. So we met in G-Fest in 2023, and it was after having conversations with Anubis, I decided to take the leap and started my channel that October. And the first thing I did was me Into the Darkness segment, which is all horror. I've got different segments on the channel. I've got Into the Darkness, Retro Classic Movie Show, Kaiju Connections, which has got a ton of kaiju movie reviews. I do at my top 10. I do a education segment where I get taught on subjects or genres in entertainment I know nothing about. And I've also got Television Chronicles, which is like the newest one where I review different television shows I've viewed, and the next one I'm going to be doing is actually Welcome to Derry.
Oh, nice.
On the subject of needing to start his own channel, Jake Hall, I'm calling you out. You need to start your own channel. You always do a great job contributing on these streams, and you would do a great job with your own channel, so start one.
I concur. Yes, you do need to do that, Jake. I mean, because like I say, you got the niche, you got a passion, make it happen. I mean, someone else told me, it's like, I'd be on their channel. It's like, and I had my own channel, but it's like, if you want to do something like this, get off the horse and start making this happen. Make this what I'm doing right now. Make this, because this is actually my first year doing live streams, and since then it's just like been such a just effective niche for me. It's like
that's a low even for you, John.
that's kind of debatable there, John. That's the thing. But like I say, my passion, as you say, my dedication to this, I just wanted to do it, and this is one thing someone told me. It's like, dude, just because you started out late in life doesn't mean that you haven't really, lost anything. Because if you got the drive for it, go for it. And I've been doing it.
Don't forget what the advice I give you, Walter, is it can be hard work running a channel, but just have fun with it. It's all about having fun, meeting different peoples of different walks of life and talking about what you're passionate about, which is film, television, entertainment,
right,
and just having fun. It's all about just having fun.
Right.
And I love it.
Yeah,
you and me, Walter, we pretty much started the same way. No computer, just in front of a phone. No choice but to get it all in one take.
Mm-hmm. And since then, it's like you see the results of it. I mean, it's changed.
Can I ask that, since you've been editing content now, when you're recording your videos, do you still have to fight the urge that when you mess up, okay, I got to stop the video and re-record from the beginning again?
No, that urge is right there. It's like a sting. It's like a split in my brain to do that. But I have to say,
I still do it sometimes, and then after I delete the video, it's like, what am I doing? I could just edit it out on my computer.
Hey, it's like I say, it's a learning course, but at the same time, you realize, like I say, nothing's perfect. Nothing's, but that imperfection is what makes us, try to do better. And
you're doing live, which is so ballsy, because neither of the shows I'm on are live. We do this. We do record via Zoom, and then things are edited, and that's what I prefer, because now I have control over things. And sometimes our guests, we interview musicians who live overseas and English is not their first language, and they ask, is this going to be live? Because they're sometimes worried that they may mispronounce a word, and I said, I'm sure your English is better than a lot of the people here, so no problem. But that way it helps them feel more secure. And,
but it's funny you mentioned that, because you actually gave me the ability to realize, like, if I decide to get someone that I admire in the entertainment world, that's exactly what I would do. I would do it as a recording, not as live, because I don't feel like they need to be, because you say they might feel embarrassed or they might feel like overwhelmed by that. It's like you don't want to do that to them. You want to make sure that
I want to feel them comfortable. And sometimes we will hear things that they said, okay, like if the show is over and we'll just continue talking. One of our guests, we talked for another hour after the show, and he said, none of this stuff is going to go out, right? And I said, no, it's not going to go out. I don't want to break our trust. So, I mean, I have it, and it's all this great information about behind the scenes stuff, but it doesn't go in the show. So I love having the recordings, but I make sure to edit only what should be in the show, Yeah.
And like I say, I think like with Kevin and with Anthony, I think only you, Kevin, have done some interviews with some people before.
So my first year setting the channel up, my first goal was to simply get used to having the channel, get used to hosting, getting used to talking on camera, just doing. If I did do a live, it would simply be with the people that I knew and trusted, like Jedi and Anthony. And then this year I made a goal that if I could, I'd try and test the waters of interviewing, and I actually had 2 really good interviews this year. The first interview I had was with Linda Miller, who was the female star of King Kong Escapes. So I've interviewed Linda Miller, and then just after Halloween I had the pleasure of interviewing Lewis Sander. So Lewis Sander is a young British actor who plays Tigger in the Winnie the Pooh Blood and Honey films. So obviously that's like an independent smaller slasher series that's kind of growing, and he's in the process of producing and writing his own horror film called Season 13, which it's nearly wrapped up, but obviously when that gets closer to release, he's gonna give us a shout out, and hopefully I'm going to interview him again, but with other cast members from that film. So
That'll be
That's
cool.
something, yeah. So it's like I'm starting small, but the fact that, like you see, I grew up as a kid watching Godzilla films, and I had the opportunity to interview an actress who actually starred in a Toho-produced kaiju film, King Kong Escapes. Never thought that would ever happen, and it did.
It's mind-blowing, right? To have that
Mhm.
experience. Right. We've interviewed a lot of people in the rock industry, and it's just like, oh my God, do you know what we have been able to do? We've been able to talk to, and when we become friends with, we have
Mhm.
relationships with, and then through that, getting sponsorships through like PR companies. Hey, can you review this album, and they'll just give us free music and just tons of it. But the relationships, and you're right, like especially if they have a good time and they want to come back on your show
Yeah.
more than one time, which is what I'm so fortunate with. Like, we've had guests, we've interviewed them, then they come back on to be co-hosts and they play games with us, like some of the things that we do. So it's an amazing thing that we have this access, and none of us have professional degrees in
Mhm.
communications, but we've been able to create a little niche for ourselves and do something fun and entertain. And in the process, we've become just amazed at the people we've got the chance to meet.
Correct.
Because I know for
That's what it's
myself,
all about.
yeah, because I know for myself, I'm hoping to, because like I say, get from Kevin and even some other people who have done some. I'm hoping, because like I say, I love the film industry. I'm hoping that one day I will get to, because I sent it out. I mean, I took the niche, took the leap of faith. If they ever respond to me, I would love to do this. I want to interview a famous stunt performer, Henry Kinji. And if I ever get the chance to interview him, it's like, boy, that would be like, yeah, because he's a true childhood favorite of mine. But as again, you never really know what the future holds. So if it happens, great. If it doesn't happen, well, hey, at least I took that leap of faith to send that out.
I would love to interview someone on my channel one day.
You'll get that chance. I mean, if you got that drive, you definitely should do that.
I just want to kind of hone my craft a little more first.
Yeah,
Well,
definitely.
That's with me. I'm still learning, as the saying
The
goes.
first interviews can be rough. I go back to the very earliest ones because we were so nervous. We were meeting one of our musical heroes, like, oh my God, we're going to talk to Eric Wagner, or we're going to talk to Carl Sanders from now. Like, oh my God, what do we do?
Right.
But we started to get more comfortable as they put us at ease. We relaxed, and in time we developed a whole question bank, and now it's what we use. Now we have all kinds of fun things for them, but you just kind of get your format. You'll kind of feel what you can do, and you'll find what works best for you. You'll find your rhythm. I'm like, okay, here's who we are. Here's who we've evolved to be, and then you'll get very comfortable in that, and that's a great place to be because, it's wonderful.
Well, that's good. But gentlemen, we're going to close it out because, like I say, this
3
was
hours.
amazing.
3 hours.
Yes. Well, look we have on here. I mean, it's a great panel. It's a great talk, and that's what we're doing. We're just,
believe it or not, me and Walter were on a stream on DJ Anubis's channel, the Metal Tavern. We were there for 6 hours.
Yes.
Wow.
And
I didn't think I was going to survive.
Yeah, we did a ranking of every Godzilla film.
That's awesome.
And it was amazing, but I mean, we made it through. But you know what? It was fun because we were in the midst of each other, talking, bouncing off one another, and it was brilliant.
Tag me in on this on Facebook, Jedi. Are you gentlemen too on Facebook?
Yes,
yes.
I
already tag you.
Share it on my page, Walter. Yeah, feel free.
Oh, I got you, brother. No, I got your back on
excellent,
that.
Excellent. Yeah, this has been.
But no, we're gonna close it out. Because like I say, we could go further, but I think we got other things
we did
too,
a lot.
But it's but no, this has been fun. This is, like I say, this has been way better than I ever expected, and I thank you, gentlemen, for it. Everyone who was watching in the comments, thank you for joining us. Please like, subscribe with these gentlemen. They're great content creators, got great stuff, and I work with all of them. And just do it, man, because they, like I say, I'm a good judge of character. Usually, I know these people are worth the time. They are. So, as I always close out with my videos, y'all take care. Y'all please be patient and always keep the kaiju love alive. Until then, y'all be safe now.